You wrote in your book, you said, I'm not preparing my kids for college or the military. I'm preparing them for the worst day of their life. The day they find out their mom or dad has cancer, they lost their job and now can't provide for their family, their friend committed suicide, or other obstacles they may have to face in life. I know this philosophy or mindset may seem extreme to most people. However, I know at some point life is going to try and drown my kids. I'm ultimately teaching them how to swim. Good afternoon. This is the JP Dinnell podcast, episode 43. I am JP Dinnell, and as always, I have Lucas with me. I'm not here to be your friend, and you may not like me, but you will respect me. You've more than likely heard a coach or someone in a leadership role say something very similar to that. I know I have on multiple occasions. It's what I refer to as toxic leadership. This method of leadership is nothing more than a plague. It first affects everyone's drive and ambition to follow you. Then it infects and ultimately kills whatever mission you were trying to accomplish in the first place. As a teacher and as a coach, I believe in leading with my actions, not just my words. That is the first page of a book called Organized Chaos. This book was written by a close friend of mine. He is an Army veteran, a counselor, a teacher, a coach, a mentor to hundreds of youth, if not thousands, a leader to many around him, an author, and someone who has fought to find a way to make things happen when others did not think it was possible. Instead of taking the easy way out in life, he has chosen to put in the hard work and to do the right thing. He has chosen to do the right thing even when it seemed to be the hardest option. He is a man who does not compromise on his morals or his standards. He is a man who looks out for and takes care of his fellow man and a good amount of stray animals at times. He has the love of Jesus in his heart. He shares that love and compassion with others and sets the example of how we should live our life in regards to treating others around us. If you follow him on social media, I can tell you that that is exactly the man that he is. And if you have had the privilege of being around him in person, you have seen and experienced this firsthand. Dillon Cooper, how are you, my friend?
Doing good, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Lucas, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, Pumpkin?
There's moments I just want to punch him, and that's one of them. Anyways.
That happens pretty often.
Yeah, it does.
Does Dillon was a former Army vet, you said?
Yes.
So
combat veteran.
He's not eligible to be an NCC.
No, he's not. This is a
sorry.
thing that Lucas has made up called the NCC, which is for non-commissioned civilians.
There's a lot of us out there.
Just don't encourage it. See, Dillon's not on board with that. He's not liking it right now. All right, hey, so here's the deal, Dillon. I want to share a few lines from your book that stood out to me right from the start, and then I'd love to elaborate on some of those, and then we can get into your story if that's okay.
Yeah, man.
I'm actually going to jump to, there's so many things I have underlined in this. Actually, chapter 8.
Dude, that makes me feel good.
Dreams don't work unless you do. I knew the process of starting my outreach center was going to be stressful and time consuming. I didn't even know where to begin and was still teaching and coaching full time. I didn't necessarily have a lot of time, and I definitely did not have the money. Oklahoma was still dead last when it came to teacher pay. In a lot of ways, it felt like the odds were stacked against me. I started sharing the news about my vision and idea with everyone. For the most part, I got a lot of positive feedback. Like anything else, I also received a lot of criticism. I honestly didn't take any of it to heart. I knew what needed to be done, and I was willing to make it happen. In my classroom, I had a really big dry erase board hanging up. One day, I grabbed the red marker and started writing all over it. I was mapping out everything I wanted my facility to be. I poured my heart and soul into the board that day. As I stepped back and looked at everything I had written, I smiled and laughed. I smiled because it all came out perfectly. I laughed because I couldn't believe I was fixing to take on this crazy and somewhat seemingly impossible mission. Well, here goes nothing. It seems like that motto has been a part of who you are.
Yeah.
And would you be willing to say that that was instilled into you from your mother?
100%.
Yeah. Your mom is an incredible human.
Man, it's crazy hearing you read parts of that right here. You know,
that's cool, man. So, what's your thoughts on that?
On what you just read?
Yeah. Why? I mean, I know that wasn't at the very beginning. Most of this book is underlined. It's a great tool, and I know in the book I believe you said it was originally you wanted it to be like a leadership book for teachers, but as I read through this book, I'm like, this isn't a book for teachers. This is a book for humans,
right.
And I think youth should be reading this book. I think adults, teachers, business. I mean, everybody should be reading this book because there's a lot of takeaways from it. But when you wrote that chapter, let's go back to that. And we're going to go back to your childhood for sure and build up that. But I mean, sitting in your classroom that day, like you were just like, what for you? What was the moment of like, hey, this is a great idea to like, let's get up and do it. Like, cause you could have just sat there and be like, oh, I have these great ideas. But instead you're like, no, I'm going to start drafting it out. I'm going to start writing it out. I'm going to create a plan. And then once you had that plan, you had something to work off of.
Yeah, it's just kind of how my mom raised all of us, really. If you see a problem, before you complain about it, try to find a solution, Mm-hmm. And the problem I identified was pretty complex, but the solution I thought was pretty simple when it comes down to it. It just took a lot of work and suffering and sacrifice, Yeah. But that was the moment I knew that's like getting a facility up and going on my own is what I was like put here to do. I knew it was for real because I didn't seek, outside validation or, hey, what do you think about this? I just knew like I'm going to that board immediately and I'm writing everything out because it's about to go down.
That's so awesome. And then, so once you did that, what was the next step for you?
Googling everything because I have no idea when it comes to business, getting something like that up and going, I went to college for like psychology and all that, so business wasn't my strong suit. So I basically just wrote down what
it is now.
Yeah, I basically just wrote down what I thought I needed to be doing, and then I just executed it every day, and then I would alter it when I needed to, like when I knew I'd make a mistake or something, So
that's rad. So you have the idea, you come up with a plan, you start executing the plan, and then you just make small iterative decisions. And I wish I would have wore my Echelon Front shirt, Default Aggressive. That's actually the shirt I should have worn for this episode because that's who Dillon Cooper is, just Default Aggressive. He has some pretty funny stories in this book from your youth, but let's go back to like, what was it like where you grew up? What was your childhood like? Family situation?
Grew up in a small town called Wewoka, Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Me and my,
I know Wewoka. Yep.
For the bad reasons, like shootings and stuff?
No, because it was just like one of the places that we would drive through on, like when we were going to deer camp and stuff like that.
Probably didn't stop for gas or nothing back then. Yeah. Mm-mm. So me and my older sister grew up there when the dude on CNN referred to as Little Chicago because so many people. That's just, you can look it up. It's just the reality of it.
No, yeah.
But we grew up in a tiny house in town at one point. Then we moved out to a little double wide trailer out in the country.
Nice.
My mom's been a nurse since I can remember, so me and my sisters had everything we needed, but we definitely weren't like spoiled, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good.
But I love where I come from because you learn to get along and love everyone based off of like who they are and not what they have, you know what I mean? So like I have one of my best friends, he's a physical therapist now, and his dad was a physical therapist, and one of my best friends now, his dad was like the local weed dealer, but we all loved each other, and that's just how it was where we were from. So I loved it, man. I like where I grew up.
Yeah, very diverse. It prepared you for life in the military. And, in your book, you said, the kids I've worked with came from various backgrounds, gang members, sex offenders, attempted murders, kids who have been abused, and the list goes on. Although they presented their own unique challenges, my leadership approach was always the same. Do you think that's because of that background of just growing up in that diverse area, you naturally default to empathy and
I think so.
Being non-judgmental?
100%. I remember me and my parents would drop my friends off to houses, and there would be like no electricity on, so the kids would come right back with us. So I remember like on the weekends after a football game, I would have all my friends in our bunk beds, just loving life, you know what I mean? So like
Oh,
my
yeah.
mom taught me how to do that stuff with her actions, like not her words. Like she showed me like every day, this is how you should treat people. And I remember the people she would do that for are people that couldn't offer her anything in return. So it wasn't anything she had to tell me and my sisters. It was just kind of like the standard because we seen mom doing it every day.
Yeah, you literally have a line in your book that says, "My parents taught me the importance of always helping someone in need."
Yup.
I also like how you have in here, no mission is too difficult if you possess the right leadership qualities and have the necessary mindset. Elaborate on the mindset that you had growing up from your mom.
My mom would always put herself first. I remember when she got this director of nursing position at this smaller hospital, and I would see her in there, and the janitor would be mad because she'd be in there like helping him clean windows and stuff, and she's literally like the top of like the whole nursing department. And I remember workers, if their kid's birthday was on this day or they weren't there for Christmas, she would like cover down. So like the more she progressed in her field, it was she used all of her job titles and responsibilities to like help all of her people out versus her.
Yeah.
So like when she got in those leadership roles was when we actually seen her less because she was wanting to do more, and it wasn't like a requirement. It's just how she was.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I actually have it underlined. That's how she cared and truly valued her workers. You will never, she said, you remember her looking at you and saying, "You will never be too successful to take out your own trash or clean your own floors." It's a lesson I've carried with me all throughout my life. And then you went on to say, if she knew they legitimately needed help, she would do anything to make sure they were taken care of. My mom taught me how to be a leader at a relatively young age. I spent my childhood watching her help others while expecting nothing in return. I owe the majority of everything I've accomplished in life to her. The importance of helping someone in need was instilled into me and my sisters at a young age. It is the standard I abide by to this day.
Yeah. After she left the hospital, she started her own home health agency where she had people that worked for her. And I remember she would load me up and we'd stop by houses like that didn't have heat in the winter, and we'd be dropping off space, heaters.
Yeah.
People that come in, they'd be like, "Hey, I don't have insurance for this," and she'd literally be like, "I don't care." It would be just literally doing, and this was at the time where the healthcare market was, she could have been making bank, but instead she was, which was annoying because you want to see your mom do good. But at the same time, I still see people that were like, "Hey, you don't know me, but when I had cancer, your mom was the one that would get me all those protein shakes I couldn't afford and drop this stuff off." And the stories are just forever. So, yeah, that was kind of my standard growing up with her, which was frustrating because you want to see your mom living a good life, but you also realize how important that is the older you get,
Yeah. Huh. That's incredible. So you had a great mom. Great example. Yet, as a young boy, you still made some decisions that maybe were not ideal.
Dude, I did a lot of stupid stuff growing up.
We all did, man.
Yeah.
We all did. I did this one story in the book where you guys went to the cemetery. You broke in the cemetery
Oh God.
to dance around. A little creepy.
Oof.
You decide, hey, we should leave. But I'll just read here. As we were leaving, I remember I had a bag. As we were leaving, I remembered I had a bag of fireworks in my truck. For whatever reason, I thought it would be a good idea to light them and shoot them off out of my truck window. As we were passing a car wash, I noticed a parked police car. The driver's side window was rolled all the way down. I grabbed a Roman candle and told my friend to light it for me. Once it was lit, I shot it towards the police car. I guess I didn't realize how good of an aim I was. The Roman candle went directly into the police car.
Oh my gosh.
It looked like a rave party was going
I
down.
forgot I wrote that part.
We were driving pretty fast, so I didn't think we'd get caught. I was obviously wrong. The cop chased us down and pulled us over. After searching my truck and finding more fireworks, he placed us all in handcuffs. The cop advised us to call our parents from his phone. I told him there was no way in heck I was going to call my mom. I'd rather just go to jail.
That sounds like Carlos.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't call my parents. Just leave me in
so
here.
he pulled us over and he goes, "Where's y'all the ones that just shot those fireworks?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. You know, like we wouldn't do anything." Because there was other cars that went with us. So he goes, "All right, I'm gonna trust you, but I'm gonna search your truck, and if I find one effing firework in there, you're all done." And I go, "All right." And I'm sitting there looking at him, and then he looks at my lap, and I have a freaking like Roman candle right there. I didn't even dump it. And he was like, he called me some bad words and was like, "Get out, you're done." And I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be." So yeah, that was the first time I got put on probation right there.
A year, right? You're on probation for an entire year from that?
Dude, that whole story's funny, man. Didn't get to go to prom. Actually, no, that was when I called in a bomb threat at one point too. Yeah, at high school. I didn't do a lot of smart things back then. Yeah, I don't know. And like my mom's an angel, you know. And I remember she'd pick me up and she would just they brought me down to the police department and they had me handcuffed and he was trying to get me the beyond scared straight thing, you know, and I'd smart off something like smart aleck and my mom would like start laughing and then be like, "You need to get your together," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I also remember when I got thrown in jail and she didn't even know. That's how my mom is. Talk about mom instincts.
Oh.
I get arrested.
She has a gift of discernment, my friend.
Calling my sister's cousins, "You got to help me out." The guy comes in, "Hey, you got a phone call." "What do you mean?" "Yeah, it's your mom." And I remember I was like, "Hey, tell her I'm busy right now." But he was like, "You got to talk to her." So yeah. But, you know, that was just me testing the limits, but I never really did anything. I mean, I credit that. I mean, this is why we should have had all these games and stuff back then, you know. It would have kept me out of trouble. Could have been playing Fortnite or something, but what do you expect me to do in rural Oklahoma where there's nothing to do? At least I wasn't doing drugs, you know. So
That's what I was
Fair point.
I was just going to say, like, you did some knucklehead things, but you weren't partying, you weren't drinking, you weren't doing drugs. So, but you know, you're a young boy.
Yeah.
And you're a little rebellious and you're pushing back. You're seeing what you can get away with. I mean, and your mom's doing the best she can to raise you guys with everything that she has going on. But what I think is cool is, like, your mom's grace, but also it's not like she was going like, "Oh, it's not a big deal, sweetie." Like, you still had consequences for your actions.
Dude, my mom would. She's small, but she's still like that today, you know. But the older I got, the more I realized kids didn't have that growing up, and I was lucky that I did. Because I remember when I wrote that book, she's like, "When are you gonna write another one?" And it was like, then I wrote the other one, and I was like, "This is bestseller too. You should write a children's book now." And it's always been like that. But I used to get frustrated, but now it's like some kids don't have that person.
They don't
like pushing them. You know what I mean?
They don't, man. You talked about, hey, I knew the military was going to force me out of my comfort zone, and that's exactly what I wanted. So I walked out of class that day and never went back. The scariest part about my entire decision was having to call my mom. I was officially a college dropout. I eventually worked up the courage to call her, and let's just say she was not happy. I honestly understood her concern, and once I explained my reasoning, she eventually backed my decision. Going back to who your mom is, right?
Dude, I was terrified.
My family overall was just kind of confused with my decision. I knew getting an education was important. However, I also knew the importance of having life experience.
Yep.
I wanted to be challenged, and I wanted to go against the grain. So I love that you wrote that, because I've talked about this before, and I strongly do not like how people send their kids to college just to go to college.
So my thing is this.
And you're highly educated with a lot of different degrees. So what's your thoughts?
I am now. So my mom is that I didn't write this in the book. I wish I would have. My mom didn't have money to send all of us to college, but my mom's the type of woman that's going to sacrifice to make sure her son is a college graduate, you know?
Yeah.
So I remember like my first week, she would come up after working like double shifts, covering down at nursing homes, because my older sister was in school too.
Yeah.
Then my younger sister's in high school. which girls are 10 times expensive.
Yeah.
That's a totally different topic about my sisters. But anyways, she was like, hey, I'm so proud of you. Like, how's college? And I was like, I feel miserable because I was like working little jobs, but you're in college full time. And I remember she would come up tired as can be and would give me like $20 or $40 to like last a week. Jeez. And I was like, absolutely not. This is dumb. Because I have friends that were sent to college with a credit card, you know, and they were told to just have fun and do all that. But for me, even if I would have stuck it out, I would have had no pride knowing like my mom paid my way so I could be a college graduate. It's just not who I am. So I'm like, I've already seen you do this for everyone else. I'm not going to let you do it for me.
That's cool. And you know, and there's a balance there. Like if somebody can do that and they want to, that's great. And your mom wanted to, but you also recognize it wasn't the right time for you.
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't. It would have been a waste of time.
Hey, if you're,
and money.
If you're listening and your parents can do that, take them up on it, man. But
only if it's the right time, though. I still don't think.
Yeah, that.
Even if you can afford it.
Yeah.
Even if you can afford it, and you're highly educated as well, and you believe in education, and I do too. I want to put that out.
I got 0 degrees, right?
But I didn't say degrees.
I know, but that's why I'm. But to your point, like the has to be the right time thing, man. That's
I think life experience. That's what you wrote. Life experience is the most important thing. That's why I love other countries that will say, "Hey, 2 years of military service."
Dude, if I wouldn't have done that, we wouldn't be here right now talking.
100%. There would have been 0 chance. You would have gotten a degree in
divine order, right?
Oh yeah, God knows what he's doing.
So yeah, that day I just knew I'm about to drop out of college. So the lady's like, hey, you need to do this and that. And I was like, I'm not going to be back. She's like, we'll come back next week on this day. And I was like,
no, I don't think
I'm dropping out. And she's like, you're ruining your life. Like, you're never going to be nothing. And I'm like, then it made me even more mad. Like, was this lady am I really going to ruin am I going to get addicted to drugs now? What's going on? How does this work? So, but here's where it gets bad. This is back before iPhones, all that, right? You remember them Razor flip phones and Nokia ones?
Bro. Oh, I love those.
Motorola.
I'm walking out on cloud 9. I'm walking away. Text my mom. Dillon, I'm so proud of you. You're going to college. Renice, I'm about to hurt you at this one. So I go, Mom, I just dropped out. Ring, 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 ring.
Oh, yeah.
For like rapid fire. Like did something on my phone, had to reset it. It was horrible. And then she's like, I hope you were joking about that. And then she was like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. It's just not for me, you know? So
yeah, but then 2 weeks later, you're on an airplane headed to boot camp.
Dude, it happened so quick. Yeah.
Okay.
Happened so quick.
I mean, what was that like?
Man, I just went to the recruiters and told them I just wanted to get up out of there, man.
What year was this?
2007.
Okay.
2007.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2000. Man, it's been a long time. I can't believe it.
I mean, the war is really going off at this point.
So
Did you know about that?
Yeah, I mean,
because some people didn't. They were like, I had no idea. I'm like, how is that possible? Like, I just didn't watch the news or anything at all. So
no,
that doesn't make any sense to me.
There's a lot of people that have 0 clue what's going on.
Oh
Tony
my gosh.
didn't even. I mean, Tony's a good example. Like, there are people that like to live their lives not knowing what's going on. Because like Tony had no idea President Trump got
but
arrested.
that's a guy who's like been out of he's been out of service for a long time, has like chosen to live off the grid.
There are people that literally joined the military during this time frame that had no idea that we were at the peak of the war.
I just
had no idea.
I have no clue how that happens.
I mean, there are people that just also don't have TVs for that reason.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. Sorry. So it's 2007. You're headed to boot camp, going to the Army. What was your job?
I started with like just a basic infantry contract. Then I actually ended up getting in trouble so that's a whole nother.
Okay, what happened?
But I did get honorably discharged and all that. I mean, nothing like that, but yeah, I got stationed at 1st Infantry Division. Okay. Because the guy was like, you're going to see the world. And I was like, this is awesome. 1st Infantry Division. Where's that at? Kansas. Is that in Germany? Is it like a Kansas in Germany? So that's like 6 hours from my house. Then Yeah, when I went in, I learned about the All Army Combatives team.
Oh, nice.
And because that's all I did growing up was like Muay Thai and martial arts and stuff. You know, that's all we had.
Yeah.
Have y'all seen that show on Hulu, Reservation Dogs? The real big
Yeah.
one? So,
oh, bro.
So Sterling Harjo
Okay.
is from that area, and his dad, it was my Taekwondo instructor growing up, and he was the one that really put the discipline. So, anyways, yeah.
Reservation Dogs, JP, is a show about a group of people who live on an Indian reservation
In Oklahoma.
In
and it
Oklahoma.
completely blew up. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a huge show, but it started off as like a YouTube series or something like that.
Yeah.
But it is very like quick-witted, underhanded, sarcastic humor, where they just like follow the kids around and they like are doing just stuff that other people on the res are supposed to do. And there's a lot of really veiled jokes about like political policies and like history of the United States and stuff like that as it relates to the Native Americans. It's hysterical.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Not the most appropriate show at all times, but it's really funny.
I just knew like the military would give me time to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would have time to kind of figure out the next thing. So I just did like the basic 4-year simple contract. You know what I mean? And then they were telling me about the GI Bill, which I thought was awesome because I knew I wanted to try to go to college.
Yeah.
So like college was actually more challenging once I transitioned out because I didn't know anything about technology or anything. Like it was kind of like a double-edged sword because the military, you're taught how to be early. Obviously, I was here like 2 hours early, like an idiot, just roaming around this church. People probably calling the cops on me.
Scoping stuff out.
Yeah, so I so when I transitioned out, I knew I wanted to do work in the mental health sector.
Yeah.
But the hardest part for me was college. Some parts of it was too easy when it comes to being structured.
Yeah.
Like Tuesday and Thursday is your only class. Now I have a lot of free time to do like stupid stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
So when I transitioned out, I came back and I just went to this small college. I had a job like personal training, and then I like how this story's going. It's kind of following the book.
Yeah.
So I'm just working at this gym. Everyone thinks I'm like a white supremacist back then because bald head and their tattoos weren't back. Tattoos weren't a normal thing in Oklahoma. So anyways, I'm going to college and I get this job at this bar called the Steel Horse Saloon. And it was horrible for me, bro, because I just loved getting in fights out there. Like there's still horror stories out there, and it was bad for me at that time. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But it was kind of like it was kind of like celebrated back then. Like my friend that was working with me and one of the people in charge would be like, "Hey, we'll give you 2 shots of Jaeger if you can beat these 2 guys up that are working on the pipeline." And I'd be like, "Yeah, let's do it, bro." And then I'd do that on the weekends and then go to school. And it was just like, it was just bad. Like I was just in that spot to where I'm like,
you're lost.
What am I gonna be doing next? All my cousins were like married and stuff now, you know. All my friends were kind of like doing their own thing, and I got closer to finishing like my degree, and I knew I needed to get some experience working with like kids or people. So I applied for this facility at the state of Oklahoma, and that's where this really all starts, because the facility in the state of Oklahoma, not many places are going to hire a guy that looks like me when it comes to kids being there. Just being honest, you know.
Was this at the juvenile center?
Mm-hmm. And it's not like the kind where it's easy. Kids are court ordered to be there. So if they don't finish the program, they get sent straight to prison. So when I applied there, they had security positions too. So they were trying to make me do that. But I told them, hey, I'm about to be graduating college within the year. I need some experience doing this. I don't want to be pepper spraying kids. I want to be trying to help heal them, you know?
Yeah, I want to help.
And I remember this dude saying, oh, if you're coming here to help kids, it's not going to work, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, awesome.
Check.
I think this is what I need to do. So the lady told me, apply for this position. It was called like a youth guidance specialist.
Yeah.
And basically, you and another person are assigned to 15 kids all throughout the day, and these kids were there for attempted murder, like all kinds of crazy things. Some kids wanted to get better, some kids just wanted to be volatile. So as much as everyone was telling me, even my mom was like, do not do that job, like it's crazy out there. I was like, this sounds awesome, like I think this is what I need to do. So I got hired on there.
Well, yeah, your attitude about it was pretty incredible, and you had a mindset shift.
Oh,
which
yeah.
You had an awesome mindset shift of like, hey, cool, I'm drinking, bouncing, I'm getting in fights. You were lost, and you had the ability to do an assessment of your surroundings and go, is this what I should be doing?
Right.
No. How long am I going to keep doing this? And at what point does that turn into a scenario where, I mean, you're going to jail or prison one day? I mean, you get in a bad enough fight where you hurt somebody, and so I think you had that awareness. It's a rough transition. You were lost. You didn't have a mission.
Yeah, a lot of it was the people surrounding me too,
encouraging you.
Yeah, I didn't have guys like you to tell me you're being an idiot. Like, what are you doing? Back then, it was like, hey, you just beat this dude up. Here's a shot of Jack, and it was just like a normal thing. But I did a good job at disguising it from like my family and stuff. But I knew I just kind of got tired of my own crap at that point. And I knew like working at this juvenile facility while I'm in college, I think it's going to be awesome. I'm going to work full time while I'm in school full time. And I think it's going to be like completely change the course of my life, and it did.
Well, I like what you put in the book, and I think subconsciously you working here really helped you out with the structure, because you said, I worked with a wide variety of kids, gang members, murderers, sex offenders, and the list goes on. I started out working as direct care staff. This basically meant I was with the kids all throughout the day and night. Every minute of the day was structured and mapped out. Well, for the most part, the facility had around 75 residents total. There were 5 different housing units, and one of them was designated specifically for sexual offenders. I got promoted fast and eventually got to work on the treatment side. This is what you're talking about, being able to help them. Eventually, I was put in charge of my own unit. It was called Garin West, or what was known as Unit 319. My job was to track the overall progression of each resident. I created treatment plans, prepared court reports, and held support groups throughout the week. At the time, Unit 319 was considered the worst in the entire facility. Most of my kids came from families immersed in the gang lifestyle. I was excited when I found out I was going to be in charge of the unit. People thought I was crazy for being so excited for the opportunity. I personally thought the unit was having a lot of problems because of the negative attitude of the staff working with the kids. The unit had gotten so bad that eventually they were placed on lockdown for an entire 2 weeks. Lockdown meant the kids never got to leave the unit. They weren't even allowed to stand up or walk around unless they had permission from the staff. Every week there were multiple fights and constant issues between the kids. I was excited for the opportunity to work in the unit and motivated to create a new environment within the unit. So Jocko and Leif, when they wrote Extreme Ownership, Chapter 2 was no bad teams, only bad leaders. This is exactly the scenario.
I remember telling you when we first linked up.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, hey, man, I'm just now coming across y'all stuff. But my story up until this point is literally y'all have been like writing about it. And you're like, yeah, I'd like to hear about it one day. So like when you get there, hey, here's how you work with these kids. These kids ain't here because they're too loud at choir practice. They're here because of this. And I remember raising my hand and I was like, hey, what about the kids that have these bad home lives and stuff like that? Like, what's your excuse for that? And they're like, well, they can still do this. So I started like challenge. So basically everything they told me to do, because you have on the job training, I didn't do any of it.
Yeah, you did.
Because they were like, hey,
obviously it wasn't working.
They were like, hey, don't talk to the kids about personal stuff. You're not there to be their friends. Like this and that. So I think I got promoted quick because I did the opposite. Like when we were eating dinner with the kids, staff like ate at their own table, and I'm like, I'm going to go eat with the kids. And the guy was
Yeah.
like, why? It's like, so I can build a relationship with them, bro. It's called humility. And I remember I went over there, all the people were like, and I was talking, hey, did you watch the Thunder game last night? Yeah. Hey, I bet you suck at basketball. We can play tomorrow and I'll beat you. What? No way, man. So I built a relationship with him. And that's how I got, once I graduated, I got promoted. And I remember there were so many people in front of me that were way more qualified. And one of the people on the panels were like, we actually see like the stuff you do
Progress.
every day. It's not just like talk, like we see it. So, but when I took over the unit was when it got pretty scary, because it's like, man, I've only been here for a year. Now I'm in charge of these 15 kids with the staff and stuff, you know. But yeah, I humility, like y'all teach, and then decentralized command. Dude, it goes. So listen to this. So these are some letters some of the kids wrote me that I got framed that I'll keep forever. There was this kid that like ran the unit, gangbanger kid.
Yeah.
And I go, you run this unit? Yeah. It doesn't look like it if it's out of control all the time. He goes, what? And I go, I was gonna put you in charge, but I guess not now. And I go in my office. He comes in there. What do you mean? I thought you like ran this unit. I do. They do whatever I say. And I'm like, why does the unit suck so bad? Well, it's because I was like, I mean, you can help me run the unit if you want. Like, I give you extra phone calls and stuff like this, but you gotta make sure everyone's squared away. Are you serious? Yeah. All right. And he just went from like not caring to like, hey, make sure your shoes are like, make sure everything's good to go. When they walked in line, they had to have their hands behind their back. Yeah. He would like check them. So anytime we'd go somewhere, I'd be like, hey, dude, is everyone good to go? Hey, I told you, boom, boom, boom. And then it went from like worst unit to like unit of the week, which meant like donuts and stuff like that. And I just use the exact opposite approach. I mean, if my staff was there and we were cool with it, I'd be like, yeah, dude, play basketball with the kids, like build those relationships, but know when to draw the line, because a lot of these kids are here. Most of those kids were there because they had no chance at life coming up. Yeah. Some of them had a good life. They just wanted to do their own things. Yeah. But a lot of them I could have been if I didn't have my mom there. Yeah, and I related with that. So for me, it was like, I'm going to do my job, but I'm going to make sure that we get through this as a team. Like, that's why I told him when I took the unit over. Like, hey, dude, I'm here for y'all. Like, I didn't ask them. My speech wasn't, hey, these are my expectations. I was like, hey, I'm going to tell you what my plan is, but I want y'all to write down what your expectations are of me. Yeah. They're like, what do you mean by that? Like, well, like what things could I do to make this better? And you could tell none of them have even been asked that before, you know?
Dude, it's awesome, man. You're very creative also, right? You said, you know, I knew I'd have to get creative when it came to sustaining rapport and the overall environment of a unit. So that's exactly what I did. I first created what I called family movie night. I told the kids if we could go all week without having any major issues, we would start having weekly movie nights. We only had one TV in the unit, and it only got local channels. So being able to watch movies was a big deal to my kids. Whenever one of our kids was fixing to get in trouble, another kid would intervene and make sure it didn't escalate, mostly because they did not want their movie night being jeopardized. Shortly after I created family movie nights, I created what we referred to as Freestyle Friday. Every Friday, we'd gather in my office and have crazy rap battles. Obviously, there were rules, just like anything else. The week prior, none of them were allowed to have any major rule violations. Otherwise, they could not participate in the rap battle. Every Friday, me and my staff would come to work overly excited about the rap battles. Let me tell you, there were some epic rap battles that went down. I tried to create a fun environment for my kids and my staff. Overall, my staff and I really enjoyed working in the unit. So you changed the way they looked at it as well, which is incredible.
Oh, yeah, man.
We basically became our own little family. I invested a lot of time getting to know each of my kids on a personal level. That is critical for leaders.
It's like in the military and anything, right? It's like if you get to know a person and they're off, you know to go engage them. Like, hey, man, you seem off. You know what I mean? Like, is there anything I can, what's going on? But yeah, those rap battles, your buddy that came on here, the Vanilla Gorilla or whatever, he shared the during buds where they're like telling jokes to the instructors.
Yep.
That's what it reminded me of, because kids would be up there like, I'm the best rapper, and then they start and we're like, cut the music, like, dude, that sucked. I thought you could rap, you know. And kids like, oh my God, like they just loved it, you know. And then sometimes on movie nights they couldn't have like scary movies, but the kid that ran the unit like loved scary movies. So I'm like, hey, that new Insidious came out. I can get it in here Sunday if you can. How you can get it in? Trust me, I'll get it in. And then we'd have. But dude, it was awesome, man. Like all my staff I got to pick were just vets, dudes that were rough around the edges, that knew how to enforce the policy, but knew how to give out that tough love without going overboard.
Yeah.
Because there, if you're like a YO, youthful offender, if a worker's having a bad day and you slip up as a kid and say a cuss word and they hit you with a write-up, that can be your ticket to prison.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the thing is,
That is bold.
so many people there have
Abuse that, I'm sure. Oh, I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
No, 100%. So what happened was, when I ended up leaving, I had typed up this kid's report. Hey, he's done all this treatment. He's awesome. He's good to go. He needs to go home. Came back. Okay, it's approved, but we can't let him go until another kid takes his bed, until a kid gets put in, because we keep that funding. So if that bed's not being utilized, we're not getting that funding. And I go, oh. So I go in there and I'm like, can y'all explain this to me? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, so you want me to keep this kid in here in this environment because we need another kid to come in here after we told him if he did this, he'd be good to go? Like, yeah, it's just the way it is. Negative. So I went home and I told my mom, you know my mom.
How many phone calls did she make?
I said, hey, Mom, there's going to be some problems at work tomorrow. What do you mean? We're having this big meeting, and I'm going to tell them, like, the way kids are being treated, it's not good. Now, Dillon, you just graduated. You're going to school again. Like, don't mess this up. You'll never be able to get a job. And I'm like, Mom, like, what would you do? Like, I grew up watching you take care of these people.
Yeah.
Like, what should I do? Because we'd have kids that needed glasses, didn't have them, hose on their shoes, walking around in water. Like, dude, it was horrible. And so I told her, like, the next day we're having this big meeting, and I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to bring all the proof I need, and whatever happens, but it'll probably be my last day. And, of course, she was calling me all the way there. So we went in this meeting, and they were talking, and it was the worst time because they were talking about me, how good of a job I was doing, you know. And I'm like, it's time to bring the boom, boys. Here we go. So this guy was like, yeah, yeah, we've heard good things about you, you know, like you're changing things around. And I go, yeah. And I go, hey, I got a question for y'all. So I pulled out the paper and I'm like, hey, this kid's done all this and we're keeping him here. As of today, he's been here 7 days longer. He shouldn't be. This is basically child abuse, I feel like. And this guy was like, excuse me? Like, it sounds like child abuse, keeping a kid here longer than... Is this what we're doing? Like, are we not really focused on the kids? Because he's good to go. He's did everything. I've been telling this kid if he does it, he's free. Y'all have, and now we're not abiding by it. And this was a story, same story for a lot of kids, man. And it was just such a broken system. So, yeah, we kind of got into it in that meeting. But what's good is the night before I went and I had a group meeting with my kids. And I go, hey, man, y'all's not being treated great here. It's not y'all's fault. Tomorrow, I'm going to go in this meeting, and y'all may never see me again. And they're like, what do you mean? And I go, I'm going to tell them, like, the truth. And, of course, they're all hyped up. Yeah, slap him, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I'm not going to slap him. But I have all this documentation from years. And if people get in trouble, they're going to get in trouble. But I just want y'all to know, if you don't see me, it's because I'm fighting for y'all. I'm not leaving y'all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good.
So
that's smart on your part. Like,
I had everything
documented.
documented. All the people that are in charge there have been done. I saw one dude working at Walmart, which there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But he was like one of the head dudes. Like, that's how toxic all these people were when it comes to like treating kids like garbage. And for a veteran, you're just like, how are you gonna treat kids? You know what I mean?
That's no different than, like, doing that is no different than what is done overseas to suppress people.
Yeah.
This is literally what the
Yeah.
insurgent fighters did in Iraq of no education. You know, it's
And dude, the worst
it's along
part,
the same guidelines, not the same thing.
the
but
worst part is when we were in the meeting, these people, the high ups, were like, "Yeah, we understand, Cooper, you know, but it's like it's not fair to the kids, but it's just the way it is." And I was like, "That's the
No.
worst thing." I was like, "How long have y'all been doing this? Like, we've been here for like 10 or 15 years." And I was like, "Y'all's the problem with this system." And I'll never forget this dude, Mr. Moore. His name was Steven, and he goes, "Excuse me," and some of the security still talk about it because it was so funny. And I was like, "Steven, I think you heard what I said." And he goes, oh, it's like that? And I was like, "Let's get in a physical confrontation if we got to." But I'm like, no, not give him any reason to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, if this is how it is, consider this my 2 week, because I don't want to be a part of this evil. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
And you could see some people in the room were like, they supported me. They were like, yeah, we've been wanting to say all that. And so when I was leaving, they already went to my office and had my stuff. They tried to like wipe out my computer, but I already had all the stuff I needed.
Yeah.
But the worst part is some of those people came to me and they were like, "You said everything that's been needing to be said." And I was like, "What's stopping you from doing the same
thing?"
Literally, like, what are we doing here? So that day, honestly, man, I was heartbroken, because you put in so much time in college and all that, and then you realize that some facilities and agencies are just designed like this. So I knew, in a lot of ways, I felt liberated, but I felt defeated because I had no idea what I was going to do next. No idea what I was going to do next.
You said in the book, part of me knew I was making the right decision. Another part felt like it was I was completely abandoning them. On my last day, they all gave me handwritten letters expressing their gratitude and telling me how much I was going to be missed. I have the letters framed, and they are currently displayed in my living room. These letters mean more to me than any college degree or award ever could. I still have a solid relationship with a few of the kids I worked with. Some of them are doing really well, and some of them are doing really bad. 5 of the kids I worked with are currently in prison. 1 of them is serving a life sentence for murder, and 4 of them will eventually be getting out. Working at the facility really helped me become the teacher and coach I am today. It made me realize the importance of empathy and understanding the types of environment a lot of kids come from. I'm going to reread that for just everybody that listens to this. And if you're in a leadership position, I really hope you just reflect upon this. It made me realize the importance of empathy and understanding the types of environments a lot of kids come from. Looking back, I realize those kids were a big part of my life. There still isn't a day that goes by where I don't find myself thinking about them. We spent holidays together and we spent birthdays together. I made the most of the time we spent together and did everything I could to show them what it's like to be loved.
I was kind of radical back then, man. But you got to be, if you want to create radical change, you got to do radical things.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
you can't do what everyone else is doing and expect. But yeah, that was one of the best chapters of my life, working at that place.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little envious of it. When I read this the very first time,
dude, if you
I knew that about you because of our relationship on Instagram, and we FaceTimed a few times, and then as I was getting to know you more, and then just trying to support what you're doing, and then the book, I'm like, man, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wish I could have a window of my life to be able to do something like that.
Dude, there was a day where they're like, hey, we're getting this kid in. He's like one of the main gang leaders. We need you to go in this office and like have the talk with him, like tell him what's up. Like
they're asking you to come in there and intimidate the kid. You're like, bro, he's a gangbanger. Like
I'm like, okay, I got you. The kid's like 100 pounds, 13, terrified. Yeah. So I go in, windows are shut. Hey, what's up, man? Hey, sir. Just being super cool, you know? I'm like, when was the last time you had, like, pop or candy? Gave him some. Like, what kind of music you like listening to? Played it. Then I'm like, hey, man, here's the thing. I don't know why you're here. I could have easily been you. here's things you can do to make your stay easier, and I'll help you as much as I can, but you got to help me and yourself out in return, and you'll be good to go, all right? And then I'd be like, when you leave this office, I need you to act like I said some really mean things, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah. And he'd be smiling. I'd go let him out. I'd be like, dude, you're smiling. Oh, yeah, sorry, sir. I'm like, all right, get out there. And then he'd be walking with his head down. Then you'd see him in the yard, and he'd kind of like give me that look, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was it, man. It was an easy job for me because some of that stuff just comes natural, you know what I mean? Like going back to being raised by my mom.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you could do it over again, if you could do it over again, would you be more intentional with trying to teach the other staff how to do what you were doing?
I think I would have more skills to offer them now because of the more experience.
Yeah.
But back then, I was still pretty young when it came to leadership as well.
Yeah, and you're just trying to do what you could.
Yeah, but I think my approach was just different from I remember they had an audit, and one of the people were like, hey, who's that guy in like dress slacks playing basketball talking trash to them kids? They're like, yeah, he's one of their people. Because that's how me and my guys were. Like, I'd want like an Army vet, Marine Corps vet, dude that played college ball. All right, like, I'm not going to micromanage y'all. Like, if y'all start causing problems, then I'm going to have to do whatever. But, like, handle your lane, you know what I mean? And we all just worked so easily. Cool. It was awesome. But, yeah, people would think, like, I'd be one of the kids or, like, maybe one of theirs. It was just – so, yeah, after that –
That seems a little old to be in here.
Yeah, so after that
you went on to teaching.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Because where am I going to go work if I know systems like that? And here's the thing. Some people can say it's just my job. I just got to make the money. And that's cool. I get it. Maybe if I had kids and a wife, I would have thought differently. But back then it's like you couldn't pay me enough money to want to do that, to where it's like I'm a part of the system.
When you know something's bad, there is a time to be like, yeah, even if you have a wife and kids, like you're not going to be
Dude,
a
I
part
remember
of
my
something
mom
like that.
was so mad one morning when I told her, like, I'm probably going to quit. She's like, I don't know why you're acting like. I was like, I'm acting like you. She's like, yeah, you're probably right. I can't get mad at you about that. I was like, if these were your patients, well, yeah. So, man, I was bummed. I didn't know. I freaking I had it like an apartment and stuff at the time, so I legit moved to my mom and dad's house, sleeping on this mattress that would hold like half my body, and I just had I had the college stuff and a good resume, but I just didn't know what I was gonna do next. And obviously my mom wanted me to go find a job that would provide me like a good life financially, but I just felt like there was something more, like there was something here. God put me here to do something very specific.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was the true test. Like if you think there's more, are you willing to part ways and go through this discomfort? So
yeah, you said in the book, I thought it would be a good learning experience if nothing else. I decided I could survive with a substantial pay cut. It really took a specific skill set to effectively work with kids, and I knew full-heartedly I possessed that skill set. It's definitely a gift that God has given you.
So I'm sitting there at my parents' house, and small towns, this amazing lady that took a chance on me, she was like the high school counselor, and she goes, have you ever thought about teaching and coaching? And I'm like, teaching and coaching what? For one, Oklahoma's 48th in education right now. Then it was 50th in teacher pay and everything. So I'm like, and this was like before OnlyFans, so I couldn't start one of them and make money back then. You know what I mean? So it was like, sorry, man. No, teaching and coaching just never crossed my mind. So she goes, look, and it was in Wewoka, which is the craziest part, which is like the divine order full circle type thing, you know? Like I'm back in my hometown now, and they want me to teach and coach. So the first thing I tell her when she calls and the people is I'm like, well, I have some tattoos now. Just letting you all know that.
Yeah.
And the lady was like, oh, we have a science teacher with something on her wrist. I'm like, okay, if y'all want to agree to these terms. So I remember I showed up for like this interview, and the lady was like, hey, can I help you? Yeah, I'm here for the interview. For what? Like psychology and stuff. Are you sure? I'm like, I don't know. Like, am I in the right? I'm pretty sure. And then the principal was like, hey, come on back. So basically,
So this time you were fully sleeved up. Was your neck
I had everything
tatted out?
Mm-hmm.
Face?
Yep. No, not face.
Not face. Yeah,
No.
just
So,
the neck, just the hands.
So I went to school there.
Yeah.
And like it's a juvenile facility, a lot of the kids from that area come from those broken homes.
Yep.
So the principal goes, I don't care that you've never taught or done anything, but I know you were like in the military, you worked with those kids and you climbed up pretty fast. I feel like we need you, because it's hard to keep teachers there, because teaching, if I was a teacher teaching your kids, it would be horrible because it'd be too easy. Why? Because they have you at home. It's that simple. Kids that have a good home life, it's easy to teach those kids. Wow. Kids that go home to no power, no water, that's a different type of environment. And that's why they have a hard time in schools like that keeping teachers and coaches. So so I go, well, what am I going to, dude, this is like, I think 2 weeks before school starting, like July. And I'm like, what am I teaching? I don't know. We'll figure it out. And he looks, hey, so listen, he goes, hey, you want to teach a psychology class? You can do that. Yeah, sure. You want to run the alternative education department? What is that? It's for kids that like can't go to normal school because of this and that. So I'll be teaching psychology and running that. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, and then maybe a careers class. What is that? And the counselor, like I knew her just from a small town. She's like, we'll show you what to do. And I'm like, okay.
Seems like a lot.
And then he goes, can you be like one of the assistant football coaches too? Yeah. And he goes, all right, you can be the strength coach too. I was like, this is escalating pretty quickly. And this is how it went. And which I'm so amazing with how it worked out, because he goes, all right, man, here's your keys and stuff. And it was just like, that was it. That was that. And I'm like, okay. So I didn't have social media at the time. So I put this thing out because he goes, man, the football team's never had like structured workouts. And if you go back on my Instagram, my first videos is me at Wawoka Lake with kids at 5 a.m. doing burpees. I built my whole freaking army.
Wow.
Yeah. That's so anyways, he goes, yeah, we've never had structured workouts. Coaches don't really work out with them. And I was like, bro, it's about to change. And I was like, so I tell him, I go, hey, are you cool with me making mandatory summer workouts at 5:30 a.m.? And he goes, that's not going to work. And I go, yeah, it will. And he goes, all right, good luck. And I'm like, this is going to be awesome. So my sisters helped me create a Facebook, and I just put this thing out. Hey, I'm the new coach. I need to get in touch with all y'all kids, And the workouts you see on my Instagram from the beginning, the weight room was probably this size, like ran down, scorpions everywhere. And I tell the football team, like, we're going to work out at 5:30 a.m. Like, if you're there at 5:15, the door's going to be locked. And there were so many funny moments. I'd be driving through, and I'd see kids running across the street because it was, like, time. But here's the thing. The first workout, I knew they were used to coaches showing up with a clipboard, like, getting on their phone. The first workout, like, it was led by me, and those were like the best mornings. So the kids just absolutely loved it. So it went from like no kid's gonna show up to, well, it'll happen, they'll show up from time to time. And that summer until school started, man, that weight room was like packed. And then I was like, how many of y'all know how to swim? And there was only like so many. So I go, all right, we're gonna start doing workouts at the lake. And they're like, we just said we can't swim. What do you mean? I was like, y'all's gonna be fine. So 5:30 a.m. I'll show you the videos. We're doing like 50-meter swims, swimming back, but I'm doing it with them. Like, everyone's loving it. Doing burpees. This one kid starts screaming, I'm drowning. This other kid's trying to help him. Pull him the other way. This other kid's like, bro, just stand up. They were in like 2 foot of water the whole time. But that's like how panicked they were. So
That's amazing.
so I was doing all this because the first game of the season was against Seminole, which was our biggest rivals. And you know what the school said before I started? They go, I can't believe we're playing Seminole. We're going to get embarrassed. Yeah. And I was like, no, negative. So
yeah, you didn't take that on board. You said I had a full plate. My first year teaching, I was teaching psychology careers, and I also oversaw the alternative education department. I was really excited about getting to teach psychology, and I was equally motivated about getting to run the alternative education department. I was coaching football, baseball, and powerlifting. The football season was fixing to start, so I was really focused on getting to work with my players. I knew it was going to take some time to establish and build a solid rapport with my players. I was really excited when I found out our opening game was a bit against our biggest rival. The Seminole Chieftains. Seminole is only about 15 minutes away from Wewoka. They are much bigger. They are a much bigger town, and they have a bigger school as well. This was the first time in 10 years that Wewoka was playing Seminole in the season opener. A lot of people were upset and complaining about us playing them. They thought they were too big of a school and that we would ultimately get embarrassed. I thought otherwise. I knew that if we wanted to stand a chance, we had to get to work immediately.
No, you're pronouncing it right, bro. It's Wewoka.
Okay. They thought they were too big of a school, and we would ultimately get embarrassed. I thought otherwise. I knew that if we wanted to stand a chance, we had to get to work immediately. Weeks leading up to the game, I put my players through some brutal workouts. I made sure I was right there beside them, suffering and sweating the entire time. Every workout we did, I made sure I was doing it with them. Every time we went on a run, I was running with them. That was my method of establishing a rapport and relationship with my players. Needless to say, there's a lot of smack talk leading up to the game. After a few consistent weeks of working with my players, I had a pretty solid rapport established. I knew that if we wanted to win, I had to first make sure they believed it was possible. Belief. So I love that you wrote that in there. I knew that if we wanted to win, I had to make sure that they believed it was possible. You know, one of the things that I like to share with people that I speak to, different companies, is, you know, without belief, nothing is possible.
Nothing.
But with belief alone, nothing is possible. You actually have to go out there and put in the work.
Had him brainwashed, man.
Yeah. And so you instilled that belief into them, but you also have to put in the work. You can't just be like, well, I believe I can do this. Desire and capabilities are two different things.
Shout out to any of my kids that went through the gauntlet before that game. Dude, the gauntlet was like worse than any boot camp. It got to the stage to where kids were throwing up, to where people are like, I don't know if this is good. And I'm like, hey, bro, we have 25 players. They have 67.
Yeah.
We're not going to have a lot of time to take breaks.
You wrote, we in fact came to win. I could tell they were not scared. They were prepared. And then a little bit farther on, my players looked completely exhausted, but they did not look defeated. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. Have you heard that saying before?
Oh, yeah. People,
I figured you had.
People still talk about that Wewoka and Seminole game because it literally went down like literally something scripted out of a movie. And I remember at halftime we were winning by like 3 points, and the whole team was celebrating because we were winning at halftime. So that's when I had to break them down a notch. And I'm like, hey, we're not just happy with competing. Like, we need to finish.
Yes.
It's about to get rough. Dude, it was like a war movie, man. Kids were cramping. I was pulling kids off. This random lady came down and brought this bottle of mustard and was squirting in our kids' mouths to help with cramps.
Mustard?
Yeah, apparently it helps with cramps. Either that lady's just weird.
She's weird because it's pickle juice.
And it's kind of one of those rivalries where...
Is it mustard also?
Well, mustard
It's
is basically
supposed to-
it's vinegar and sodium, which is the same things that are in pickle juice.
See, she's not
Okay,
weird.
that makes
She's
sense.
not
So she
weird.
wasn't weird.
But it's also kind of one of the rivalries.
But that is a little strange.
It's also the kind of rivalry where when we're
That's so
warming...
awesome.
Yeah.
Just
like,
squirt.
come here.
Come here. You want some Gatorade?
Dude,
nah,
people's-
bring the mustard, ma.
This is my first game ever coaching.
Dude.
And I'm like, is this lady trying to waterboard my kid? She's like, it helps with cramps. And then It's kind of rivalry to where their band is warming up where we're trying to warm up so we can't hear. And then apparently we couldn't get any Gatorade because the concession stand was like out. It was that type of like bitter thing.
Yeah.
But the coolest part now talking about it is like my kid that was a quarterback then is now like the head coach of that football team. And now we've been working together ever since.
Dude, that's awesome.
That's freaking rad. Yeah.
Which is insane, you know? So yeah, that was kind of my, I was on the path. Like I knew that was where I was like, man, this feels good. Like showing up knowing these kids need me, like at 5:30 a.m. It gave me like that sense of purpose.
Yes.
But as I was teaching, I kept seeing these kids, just, you can tell they're carrying a lot of heavy burdens.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm loving teaching and coaching, but this isn't it. There's something else.
And
I was
a lot of
I was
deeper
pissed.
Issues.
I was pissed because it's like, where else do I need to go, man? Like I'm doing.
Yeah, and you're starting to see a need. You're starting to see like, okay, this problem is bigger. How do we get to the root of this problem? You know, which is cool because, you know, that is a night I will never forget. Not just because we won, but because my kids learned anything is possible when you put in the necessary work.
Did I put the picture in there where I got that personal flag? Yep, there it is.
Yeah. You got a flag because you're so fired up.
Yeah, the coaches wouldn't shake our hands after the game. Yeah. They walked off because, dude, no
coaches from the other team?
Yeah, not all of them, but the main ones. Because one of their coaches is the winningest coach in high school history ever in Oklahoma. So it's kind of like a bitter thing.
Yeah, but the example that he set for his kids was...
That's just how some people are.
Yeah,
Not bashing
I
the
know.
dude, but I was loving it. Then I got in trouble because I threw the peace sign up to some of the coaches. The favorite part is the superintendent at the time just had knee replacement surgery, and he goes, if we happen to win, I'm gonna lose my mind. And my mom's got this picture, like the final play, we win, you see this big dude running on the field with these crutches and his knees still all bandaged up. Like people from Awoka like went nuts because it hadn't been done in like forever, you know.
Yeah.
So
all right, so Chapter 5, No Surrender. Although I was really enjoying teaching and coaching, I still felt as if something was missing. I wanted to work in the mental health field. As a teacher, I always found myself getting the chance to mentor and work with kids. However, I really enjoyed working with people who had serious mental ailments. After losing a close friend to suicide a few years prior, I was passionate about suicide awareness and prevention. I started to research local nonprofits close to where I lived. I figured I could volunteer and help out when I wasn't busy teaching and coaching. There was only one problem. I couldn't find a nonprofit anywhere close to where I was located. I ended up finding a few, but they weren't geared towards mental health. After giving it some time and thought, I made the decision to start my own nonprofit. I had no idea where to start, so I did what any veteran would do. I Googled it.
that's it.
All right.
What else do y'all need out there, man?
Yeah. Come on now.
A mastermind? So yeah, this sounds pretty dumb, but I kind of forgot I had 2 charities going. So basically I missed the mental health part. So I launched this one, which was geared towards just adults in general. You know what I mean? And it was awesome, man. But basically what happened was I was at the school and I'm like, you know what? Like, if we want to create change in the world, it starts with kids, like 100%.
100%.
So I was like, I'm gonna dedicate every ounce of myself to kids. So I went to like this group and I'm telling them, hey, you know what's wrong with our school system here? None of these kids have anywhere to go outside of school. Like, there's no safe haven. Literally nothing here. No movie theater, bowling alley, nothing. Especially for the kids that don't have parents with money. Like, and the kids that come from broken homes, they have nowhere to go outside of school. And that's a problem. Yeah. And they were like, well, nothing like that's ever existed here because it's too much work and there's too much money involved, you know. So one night I was laying in bed and I was like, was just tired of the system itself, you know what I mean? And that's when I thought, if I want to say F the system, I have to build my own system. And that's when I was like, I'm going to build my own facility from the ground up for kids. Yeah. And I was just so happy. Like, it kept me up at night. I was like, this is awesome. And then I looked at my bank account and saw like $18, and I was like, this is even more awesome, because I know it's going to be like really freaking brutal. But I was like, dude, this is so, it was like the happiest. And I remember calling my mom, oh my God, Dillon, like, you're not gonna, this is the worst time to do all this. And this was during like the Oklahoma teacher walkout, because nobody was getting paid enough money.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, so while y'all's doing that, I'm just gonna go try to build my own facility. So yeah, the day after was when I went to my whiteboard on my psychology class, and I wrote down everything I wanted it to be, and then I just got to work.
Yeah.
And that's when it got really wild.
Yeah. So before we dive deeper into that, I want to share something from the book that I think is really important for everybody. Working at the juvenile center gave me the ability to communicate with kids using a language not understood by most. I guess you could call it verbal de-escalation. It's crazy that that idea of just being able to de-escalate a situation is so wild for people, because people are just geared for conflict because of their ego. And if you can subordinate your ego, you can actually communicate and build relationships.
Ego and humility. What I saw my first week teaching was teachers. I have a college degree. I've been teaching for this long. And then, so it got to where me and the principal had a really good relationship, and the counselor. So I tell them, instead of like calling the cops on these kids and like sending them home, like, text me or call me and we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
And I remember this one kid was just like,
was that the junior high?
The one with the basketball?
Yep.
Yeah. Where he was just wearing a basketball jersey, and they're all like interrogating him, and I basically was like, dude, I bet you suck at basketball. Everyone was like, and he was like, what? And I was like, I bet I could beat you right now, like 100%. And everyone's like, hey, Coach Cooper. And he was like, no, you couldn't. I was like, dude, there's no way. I was like, well, here, let's go find out. We'll go play real quick. All right. And we're just getting up to leave, and everyone's like, why would he do that? And then within 10 minutes, we're just like having a good time. And I'm like, so what's going on, man? Oh, this is going on. I understand, man. Let me tell you about this time I went through this and that, you know?
It's cool because in here you said we played basketball for about an hour. As we continue to play, I began asking him random questions. Not once did I mention him being in trouble. So you're not making him feel defensive. You're not backing him into a corner. You're like lowering his defenses so you can actually build a relationship. It was obvious the kid was going through a lot at home. The last thing I wanted to do was add even more tension or stress. I love that you put that in there, because people don't understand what's going on the outside. And leaders at work, they don't understand, like, hey, somebody's not performing at work. Why? What's going on? What can you do to help them?
It goes back to what you just mentioned earlier about the importance of life experience.
Yep.
When you go straight from high school to college with a credit card, you don't understand things.
And then all of a sudden, because you have a college degree, you're now in a position of authority over somebody that's been working for 15, 16, 17 years.
So it went from dude, they would send me on missions every day. Go talk to this kid. Go talk to this kid. And I just loved it, because for them it was so complicated, but for me it was like so easy, because for me it was like the humility part, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And literally letting your ego just dismiss during that moment. I remember he's like, man, I can't stand that dude. Who, Mr. So-and-so? I was like, yeah, he's kind of a dork. I don't like him either, And he's like, oh, that's awesome. It's like, all right, let's keep playing, So, but
when it comes to working with kids, the best approach is always the human approach. That's what you say in the book.
Yep.
I love that. But getting to where you're talking about, the final straw was just you're recognizing, okay, yes, we can do all these things at school, and I can do these things that I did in the juvenile center, and we can get teachers on board and counselors on board and staff on board. However, if we don't fix the root problem, the homes, it's just going to keep being a problem. And so that's what drove you towards doing the facility, correct?
Yeah, because there's all kinds of things in places for kids when they end up in a bad spot, but there's nothing for them just in general, like a place where they can go to get mentored, a place where they can, So Yeah, that was my idea. I was like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm going to have my own facility.
Yeah.
I was naive, but somehow I made it happen anyways.
Well, I'm glad you were, because had you not been naive, you might not have pulled the trigger.
What's cool is
I don't know, though.
What's cool is I
Maybe.
still got that card you sent. I don't know if you remember it,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I'll tell that story too. So anyways,
Yeah.
I get on Facebook and yap.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm gonna build my own facility from the ground up. I'm gonna let kids come there for free. We're gonna mentor them. Any kid that's been through anything traumatic, I'm gonna help them right there. If I can't, I'll bring people that'll do it, and we're gonna do it all for free. Like, it's gonna be awesome. Kids won't have to pay anything. And I remember this. This one dude was like, "Good luck, buddy." Like, and of course people were like, "That's awesome." And of course people were like, "Yeah, good luck according to this data." And I'm like, I don't care about data.
Yeah.
I got a whiteboard and Google. I don't need no data.
Come on now. In the book, you said under vision on page 76, when I see a problem, I always try to find a solution. Instead of complaining about it, I decided to do something about it. And my idea was to create and establish my own outreach center. I wanted my kids to have a safe place to go while being prepared for the real world. I didn't want it to be the average run-of-the-mill outreach center. In my opinion, it's critical for kids to understand the importance of self-discipline and accountability prior to entering the real world. I've never been an advocate of participation trophies or instant gratification. We've talked about that a few times.
I can't tell you how many kids could chime in right now where their parents were pissed because they drove all the way to the summer workout and they got there at 5:20 a.m. and their son was locked out because they didn't make it in time. But then the next day the kid's sitting out there 20 minutes early like, yeah, my dad cussed me out, man. I can't be late ever again. And it's like, that's just how I'm going to try to do it, you know? So
yeah, you say, I wanted my facility to be challenging yet rewarding. Mindset is everything, in my opinion. Everything I've accomplished in life is a direct reflection of my mindset. The willingness to keep moving forward while everything inside me is suggesting that I quit. At some point, I knew life was going to try and drown every one of my kids. It was my job to make sure they knew how to swim. Fast forwarding a little bit more. I personally wanted to expose my kids to mentally taxing and stressful situations. I wanted them to understand the importance of working as a team while also understanding the importance of pulling their own weight individually. I wanted my facility to be I wanted my facility to be paramilitary structured. This meant delegating leadership duties and responsibilities to the kids as they progressed. Fast forward a little bit more. This was my strategy to create what is commonly referred to as a ripple effect, because as one leader would elevate, it would be motivation for the others to be able to elevate up and elevate up. And I remember when you were telling me about everything, you're like, bro, like, they're going to have to earn a set of keys, and then they have to earn the ability to be a mentor and coach other kids. And dude, like, what you did was incredible. Lucas, what are you thinking, man? I know you're writing down stuff over there. There's a lot.
I got a bunch of stuff that's happening over here because, like, as you're talking about all this stuff in particular with students, so before I took over as a pastor of this church, I was the youth pastor, and what I specialized in a couple of areas was working in particular with junior high students, and so the amount of people that do not recognize how important home life is is astounding. And especially, like, we live in a pretty affluent area here in sort of like the North Dallas area, in North DFW, and there's this kind of thought that the bad kids, quote, right, or the troubled kids or whatever, that they only come from for lack of a better way to put it, like the other side of the tracks. They only come from, the trailer park, or they only come from this, that, and the other. And the truth of the matter is that the home life, no matter where you are, can be just as awful in an affluent area as it is somewhere else. But it's really on the leader of that group, whether it's a teacher, whether it's the school system, whether it's, the youth leader, to start to recognize those things. So what are some of the things that you would tell people, like, hey, these are the things to look for with, like, some of your kids that may be acting out, or some of your kids that seem to be having some stress or some issues in other areas? These are some things to look for that will let you know, like, it's it's not just bad behavior. Like there's something going on at home.
I would say it starts with building the relationships with them, which is why rapport is so important, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if JP came in one day and his shirt wasn't tight fitting, it was all loose and he was looking slouchy, which he never does. Like, hey, bro, is everything cool? You don't look swole. You know what I mean? Like, it's so simple. But here's the thing, man. People, you have to be genuine when you do this type of work. You have to be authentic and you have to be sincere because it takes a lot of your time to build those relationships. And a lot of people think they're sincere about it, but sometimes they're not because they're not willing to spend the time with the kids that may not have the mom that works at the bank. You know what I mean? You know how it is in town. So
I think the other thing, and this is the excuse that I get a lot, because I was neither really straight-laced nor do you and I share the same affinity for tattoos, right? Like I think yours are cool, but I don't have one, right? So there are people who come up with the excuse. They're like, well, obviously, like, you know, Dillon's able to build these rapport with these kids because he looks cool, right? I'm a 35-year-old that tucks my polo shirts into my jeans. I'm not going to build that instant rapport, right?
Look at those rings you got on though, bro.
So, well,
I would talk to you right now about anything.
Well, that's not me saying it like personally. That's the excuse that I get is like, hey, I'm a dorky dad. I'm, or whatever. I don't look the part, so kids aren't going to talk to me. I'm sure with all of the different kids that you work with, the people who come help at your facilities, that's a hurdle that you have to overcome.
That's why this next topic is so important. After rapport, it's trust.
Yeah.
Because if they trust you, it don't matter. Don't matter if you're in shape, out of shape. If they know you're a safe place for them and they trust you, they'll open up. Doesn't matter what you look like, man.
That's all they want. That's all humans want. I mean,
honestly, there's
you as a pastor.
I
mean, bro, you know exactly what.
Yeah. So I was driving through town one morning on the way to the gym, and I saw this ginormous building in the middle of Wewoka for sale. And I was like, I'm gonna buy that bad boy. I don't know how.
But, all of the $18 in your account.
I saw this 2-story building downtown, and I thought, it's in the middle. Kids could walk there after school. Any kid could get here if they have a bike. This is like where it needs to be. And then the scariest part was calling the realtor to see how much it was gonna cost. So I went to my desk at school and I called her, hey, I'm a teacher. I'm thinking about how much is this building gonna cost? Well, we'll let the owners know and they'll call you back. So step one was find the location. I found it.
Okay.
What's next? How much does it cost? They told me. Almost hung up and said, you know what? I'll just retire from teaching and go do something else. But I'm like, all right, now I have a target how much money I need to get. Now let's do literally everything in my soul to go get this money, even though I didn't have social media or anything at the time,
That's
so
crazy. That's insane. Did you try to negotiate the price? Like, what was the process? Did they work with you a little bit?
I got lucky
because you get some grants and no grants.
The craziest part about this whole story is people think there's like a catch, like, oh, your parents are rich. No, go check.
Yeah.
Or you had someone do this.
No, you hustled.
So I got lucky because it was a family that owned the building, and they didn't live in Wewoka anymore. They were like a brother and sister or something. So the realtor lady came to me and told me how much, and I said, well, I think I can raise the money. So closing day came the first time, and I was short. So I called her. I don't have it yet. I have some, but not yet. So if you got to sell it, sell it. If not, okay, well, we can push it back. Okay. Second closing time, called. Hey, I don't have it. And this is when that internal voice starts coming in, you know? And you get it from people you love, too, your family, you know? Dillon, it's not meant to be, don't you see? And I'm like, no, I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like this is that test where it's like, you say you want it, like 2 walls set up. What are you going to do now? Yeah. So I'm like, I'm going to keep hustling. Third wall came up, or third time came up. I'm going to have the money now. I just didn't have it. And then the lady called me, hey, I'll talk to the people and see. And I was like, listen, please tell them I'm trying to help kids. And if they give me a little bit off, they can stop by and see I'm actually going to do it. Like, it's probably going to take me forever, but please. So these people had mercy on me and lowered it a little bit.
Wow.
So after a long time, I had the money raised. I'm in my classroom, literally like a music video. I have kids stacking money and counting it because I'm going to the realtor during my closing period. Happiest day of my life. So no, this is all true. This is the craziest part.
I know you have
dude.
kids.
I wish
kids stacking money.
Dude, I can't count.
You sound
bro.
like an African warlord.
Dude,
like, come here, bring it. You bring me another stack of cash.
What's funny is like if the principal was here, he's retired. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that," because he came in. He's like, "What are they doing?" I was like, "They're counting my money, man.
This
I'm
is
gonna go buy a
math.
building." He's like, "Oh, that's awesome, man." Like,
Hands-on math. Hands-on training.
So I'm
Can you imagine trying to do this in like a suburb of Dallas? Like your kids, like when you know all these kids are stacking money, they're like, okay, well you sir are under arrest.
Well,
and,
when I say
these children are under suspicion,
when I say
it's just
when I
it's
say
so crazy.
When
though.
I say stacking, you're assuming it's like rap video. It was
No,
more
yeah.
like little.
oh yeah,
We're going to a carnival or something. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Stacks
anyways,
of cash are a lot smaller than people think they are.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we finally set
Stacks of quarters.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So
yeah.
we finally
And a pillowcase.
we finally set a closing date. Like, okay, you're gonna buy the building. I was like, oof, kind of feeling terrified.
yeah.
Like this is a lot of money I don't even have to begin with. Whew. So I went there. Wasn't no cool moment. No people there cheering me on. It was just me and the realtor lady. She goes, "You got the closing cost? What's that?" "The closing fees." What is that? When you buy real estate, there's how much is that? Ooh, she told me. I said, hold on. Went to the bank, got what little savings I had, and I had it all. Nothing left. Like, you can ask my grandma. Call my grandma, hey, can you give me some money today? Like $80. I'll get paid in like a week, and yeah, I'm going to buy that building. So I had it all, and she gave me the keys, and I was like, whoa. I felt like it was like a Lamborghini. Like,
Yeah.
let's go. So I tell people, hey, meet me down at the building. I just bought it. The first dude that walks by, he goes, can you believe some bought this building? And I go, yeah, man, I don't know, you know. And then I opened the door, and like my mom came in, and she was like, what did you do? Because it was a 100-year-old ran down building, like 2-story, 7,500 square foot. I didn't check the roof. I didn't know anything about electric. I would just drive by it every morning and just became like, that's going to subconsciously, like, there's subconscious and then the unconscious. Once you train that, it's like, it's going to happen, and it's going to. So it was the happiest day of my life, and most people came down there, and it was just straight negativity, because I looked around, and I'll make sure and send you the picture of where it's just looks like an IED went off in there.
I remember you sent it to me.
And people came by and were like, you bought this? And everyone's like, good luck, you know. And I remember, like, even some of my own family were like, you should just count your loss on this. Like, this isn't. And that destroyed me, because I was like, man, this is everything I've ever wanted. And not too many people were like feeding into it. Jeez, but then insert some of my kids. This is awesome. We can start working out right now. Where's the bathroom? I don't even think we have a bathroom, bro. So it's, I bought it, and this is where it gets weirder. Go home to my house, no electric. Because I didn't have money to pay like the electric bill. It was on a Friday. So I'm like, I'll call my mom. But she was already kind of like critical about it. No, because she's going to say, I told you so.
Yeah.
I could have called anyone. They would have helped me. But I'm like, I'm just going to chill here like with candles, and then go to my mom's house, not let her know I can't eat food because everything's shut off. And then Monday we'll get it like figured out. So that was my, you see when people close in real estate and they have pictures and they're giving them gift baskets, that was my closing date right there. Dead broke, absolutely terrified. Like,
No
I'm
power.
talking no sleeping, because I'm like, and I just got like social media, so I didn't know. And you got to think, in Dallas, it'd be easy to fundraise. But in that area, when you go around and people are like, yeah, we'll give you $50, and you need thousands of dollars like renovated. So officially bought it. And then next was the renovation, man.
What year was this?
2018.
Yeah.
2018. And I had a friend come in that does construction. I was like, what do you think? He's like, you want me to be honest? And I was like, I don't know if I really want you to, because you know what you're talking about. He's like, oh, man. He's like, are you going to pay people to do this? I was like, I can't. And he goes, I can give you some tools, man, but you just need to start tearing this place apart. And he goes, if you had people that could help you. And I go, I work at a school, and I have a lot of students, so let me put the word out. So formed my army in this classroom. Principal's so cool. Got on the intercom, hey, this is Coach Cooper. If you want to make a little extra money, come to my classroom in 10 minutes. All these kids showed up. This is what it's going to be, fellas. It's going to suck.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay you what I can. I'll buy you all the energy drinks and everything, and eventually it'll be like a gym. And eventually, like, some of the kids left because they're like, what? Because I was telling them. And then that day, some of the kids came and met with me, and they were just like, this is what we're going to be redoing. But they just believed in the vision, man.
Wow.
And what's crazy is, like, the 2 kids that are in the book were 2 kids that were working on the building that both ended up, like, going in the military. Now they're out, like, going to college. But it's crazy seeing it.
It's wild.
Back then. So everyone was like, you need to be using social media to help get this out there. Because I had a meeting with this company in town about donating. And I'm like, this is going to be life-changing money. Like, this is going to help me renovate it. And I get home, and it was like $100 check. And I'm like, that's awesome. But I was also, like, screaming, like, oh, my God. So what's cool is when me and you connected was when I was just starting it.
Yeah.
And I remember you didn't have that many followers either back then. And I remember hitting you up.
Because you had heard me on Andy Frisella's podcast? Yeah, because I was on his podcast in November of 17.
Dude, the first conversation we had, you were still in, like, Mississippi.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I remember it because you were like, dude, I'm in some pet store, and you bought, like, binoculars or something. Some binoculars they were selling.
Yep.
They were like, do you know how expensive these are, bro? You're like, I'm about to buy as many as I can. Then you're like, anyways, what's up? So I was telling you, like, hey, man, I'm going to show you. I remember I sent you a picture of the building, and it looked horrible. But this is why it's important to, like, get people in your life that, like, water the seeds, you know?
Yeah.
Because I had already planted those seeds, and some people don't want to water them. They want to poison them. And I remember that day you were like, dude, this is going to be awesome. Like, this is going to be, like, I can't wait. You were like, I'm gonna come up there and, like, see it once it's all done. It's going to be, like, so legit. And I was like, someone actually believes in what I was doing. And then I remember that Friday you text me, hey, what's your address? I'm going to send you something. I was like, all right. Then I took the kids on something on the weekend. Dude, I was so down in the dumps. And then you wrote that card, and you had that donation, and I still got the card. And you're like, dude, I'm proud of you, bro. Like, one day I'm going to come up. And now it's like, you freaking baptized me. Like, is that not wild? But I remember that card was God sent because, like, not many people believed in me.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Dude, I get emotional just thinking about
Yeah,
it. Because I opened it up, and we hadn't even physically met yet.
Nope.
And I'm like, dude, this dude's on, like, Andy's podcast. And you, like, wrote it, and you were like, I believe in you. Like, it's going to be awesome. I'm like, dude, if this dude believes in it, like, that's going to, I can keep doing this. And I remember when I posted a picture of me buying it, Andy Frisella commented on it, dude, this is badass, man. It's going to be awesome. And my kids were like, oh, my God, Andy commented on it, you know? And then that was when the work began, but I was still teaching and coaching, like, full time. So I would coach a football game or whatever, and then me and kids would be in there at night at, like, 9 or 10 p.m. I was a horrible teacher because I'd have them in there till, like, 11 p.m. The next day, teachers would be like, why are they so tired? I'm like, I don't know. They need to start taking school serious. And they were down there at Coach Cooper because I was like, we didn't have electricity. We finally got electric hooked up. But I remember one night we were trying to get all this tile out. And I said, hey, if y'all can get all this out in a week, I'll give y'all a bonus. And they're like, all right. So I leave on a Friday, which they were supposed to have it done on that Monday. And I'm like, there's no way. So they had the key. Well, my buddy that's a cop called, and he goes, hey, are you at your building? No. Well, there's a lot of lights on in there. Whoop, that's not good. So he went in. I'd given the kids money to go eat, and they walked to the dollar store and bought headlamps So that's a picture where they were in there. This kid's on a scaffolding thing, only like 15 with a headlamp, just getting after it. They're like talking trash. Oh, you're gonna give us that bonus. You're gonna get, and they did it, which was like awesome, you know. So, dude, we just put our
no excuses.
Like I had no. I wish I could say some big construction company like came in and
donated, or
even like
the
the city wouldn't, because unfortunately, like small town politics, they want you to like need them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So for me,
Bro,
what sucked? Yeah,
100%.
What sucked about this is I needed the money, but everybody involved that wanted to get involved, they wanted to have their hand on it. So a bank would come in, we'll donate this if we can come in and teach this and do this. I can't. Like, I've been given the vision. I know what it's going to be and what it needs to be, and I can't have you all involved. But I'll still take your donation. Oh, no, we want it to be like a, like a PR type thing.
100%.
So the cool part about, like, divine order is when you stay on the path, like, he's going to bring the people into your life that need to be in there, which is crazy now because I connected with you and then, but yeah, that was really, we would.
And Josh and Isaac were, because of that connection with you and I on social media,
dude.
Then you go to you met Josh and Isaac before Pursuit. They had gone up to help with the facility, correct? Or is it after Pursuit?
Josh came up before
once.
Then Isaac. I met Isaac at Pursuit.
At Pursuit.
So yeah, I found a place down here actually that sold like weight room equipment for a decent price.
Yes.
So I got this picture where it's like 1 a.m. on a school night and we're putting together our first squat rack. That was like $200, but the kids were like, "That's the nicest squat rack ever." And then I'm like counting money, like, could I maybe buy like a set of dumbbells maybe? And then I start getting dumbbells, and I have a picture where it's one squat rack, 20-pound dumbbells, and like ring pull-ups is all I could afford. But kids were like already wanting to come in and start. So the plan was to get it built all nice and then start working with kids. But kids were like, come to my class, "Hey, I heard you got a gym. Can I start coming down there? We don't have like water yet. It's cold." "Oh, we don't care. Can we just..." Yeah, dude.
They just they needed,
dude, so there's
somewhere to go.
What's funny is like it's downtown, and like before we got the windows all covered up, you can see everything in there because it's such a big building. So people would be driving by, not used to seeing kids in the building late at night, and we're on there just like working out, So
That's awesome.
I had a plan to where I wanted to launch it on this day, but those kids are like, "Hey, if we got a squat rack, why can't we start working out?" "Well, because we don't have a working toilet yet because I can't afford one." "Well, we can just we can piss outside in the alley." "That's a good point." And then this is where it gets funnier. The apartments across from us got renovated because they got this $1 million thing, and they're like, "Yeah, and then if we got to do the other thing, we can use those porta potties out there at night." And I was like, "All right, it sounds like we're gonna start working out, man." So that's how
the apartment's porta potties.
Yeah, it just started organically, man. Wow. And like me and the kids were in there, so we did the entire renovation on our own. I would come down here to Aubrey, Texas to get the gym flooring. I would drive down and get like one row at a time because I couldn't afford it. But the principal would let me. He'd be like, "Hey, just leave early and go get that gym floor, and then I'll have the kids down there." So the people at the school were super cool because they knew the end goal of what I was doing. So I'd be like, "Hey, man, you busy? What's Coach Cooper doing now? I got this dude that's going to give me this refrigerator down in Texas. Can I go pick it up?" "Yeah, go ahead." So I take kids down there. So, yeah, we just kept pushing towards it, man. And we just kept gaining. The martial arts got involved when I hit you up because basically I did like a self-audit of what helped me become who I am today.
Yeah.
And then I included the bad things too, so I could teach those things to kids.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, man, the best thing from a therapeutic standpoint has always been like martial arts, fitness. And I was like, dude, I got to start teaching kids martial arts. And I would remember I was about to like fork over this money to get like a 2x10 thing of mats. And I just hit you up for some reason. Like, "Hey, bro, do you know anyone?" And that Jeremy dude hit me up.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, just come down here to Texas and bring a trailer." and he brought out all those rows of mats, and I'm thinking, I'm gonna have to rob this dude because I don't have this much money. So I'm like, so I was like, dude, like he was just loading stuff up, and I'm like, I was like, dude, I can't pay for this. He's like, no, you're good, dude. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? It's like, what do you mean? I remember like texting my kids. They're like, oh snap, it's about to be on and popping now. Like, it's gonna be awesome. So yeah, the first group of kids started coming through, and it just evolved like organically. One of the kids that I wrote about was one of the ones that helped me renovate it, and he was a junior and lives with his mom. He's got a lot of siblings. His mom does what she can, but they didn't have the best, and I saw that.
Yeah.
And the kid had no quit, and he wanted to go in the military. So I'm at the school. This is in April. He takes his ASVAB, and he scores high. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, he scored pretty high on this ASVAB. So he's taking like these like tech classes, like machinery and stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to the principal, and I'm like, hey, this kid scored high on his ASVAB. The problem is he's not a senior yet. He's going to have to wait an entire year. And I feel like he needs to be gone now so he can take care. And he wants to go active duty. Like, he's wanting to go do some stuff. So what can we do? And the counselor, just being so awesome, she's like, well, let me see. So she calls me, and she goes, hey, what if we put him in online classes for his senior year? He can report to your class, and if he does all those in April, he'll graduate an entire year early in May, and he can ship out. And she goes, can he come sign this thing? I was like, yeah, he's going to sign the thing. So what's cool is, like, the picture in the book, he's wearing your shirt, the never settle thing. I remember telling you about this exact thing. So I told he gets off the bus, and I was like, hey, dude. He's like, hey, you're going to graduate next month. No, I'm not. Yeah, you're going to graduate early. How? You're going to be taking classes up in my... What? Are you serious? Yeah. Oh, all right. So, dude, he'd come up there. I'd have energy drinks, and I'd tell the teachers, like, don't mess with him unless he... And I think he did his whole senior year in, like, 3 weeks.
What?
Graduated an entire year early. And then in boot camp, he gets a break, and he's like... comes down to my facility, and he's like, man, I think I want to go try to be a ranger.
And he just felt like at this moment he's like, I'm the man.
He was like,
he's like, I'm the man. You know, he felt this way,
dude. And the counselor was so cool because she knew like what I was doing. She
what
goes,
a
hey,
great woman.
She goes, hey, don't you have a camera and know how to take pictures? Yeah, so you can do a photography class. Yeah, for sure. So I went down there. Yeah, here's these pictures. All right, roger that. Yeah, he's good to go. And then I'd oversee all his online work, and I just had no mercy on him. Hey, dude, do this one. Well, no, shut up, do it. I gotta pee. I don't care. Pee on yourself. I don't care. because I knew he was gonna take the opportunity like he was given and do something good with it. So when he came back, he was like, dude, I think I'm gonna do this like ranger contract. Yes. And then he goes, I remember this day because I smoked the piss out of him at the facility. He goes, plus I know like if you wash out, you get sent to this base and it's not that bad. I was like, oh, you're already thinking about just washing out? Like I thought you were gonna do it.
Oh,
dude. So he like, I went through RASP and all that, graduated.
Good.
Was a ranger. Now he's like out in the National Guard. But that's like one of the cool full circle.
Where does he live?
He's back in Milwaukee now. Yeah.
Bro, you need to...
At final phase, when Josh and them, he was there. He was one of the dudes helping me.
You need to connect him with Josh and I.
Yeah.
Because you know what we need at Echelon Front?
Yeah.
We need role players.
Yeah.
Like, we're growing that program, and we need role players that are young veterans.
That'd be legit.
We were just up in Oklahoma City doing an FTX not too long ago.
Did you lose my number or what?
I did. Did you lose my number when we went up there to do our Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu thing with Mighty Oaks?
Bro, I was trying to build a facility for kids, bro.
Here it comes. Because I know,
Yep.
I know. I hit you up. I know Josh hit you up, and your buddy, the tattoo artist.
Y'all were supposed to come by that day.
We were?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Josh said your dad had surgery or something the next day.
Oh no, he did. No, he had surgery the night before. We were trying to get back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Josh.
that is
Josh.
factual.
Yeah,
Josh.
because
That's
I
all
told
factual.
him. I told him we're
My
pouring
dad
concrete.
almost lost his leg.
Man, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now I feel bad.
No, you should. No, that's why we literally, as soon as we got done,
because I told him
we got Del
on y'all's way
Taco,
back,
and
yeah.
then we literally we were gonna like
Yeah.
stop for like actual food, and
Had
we
to
were
go
trying to get back. We're like, no, like we're gonna eat
Yeah.
some Del Taco and get out. Which, by the way, I will choose Del Taco over any other major restaurant because that's what I was raised on.
Isn't that military founded too? Del Taco?
Oh, I don't know.
I thought it because if you
First
put
one
it-
was in
if you-
Needles, California.
If you put it together, it's Delta Company or something. Del Taco.
Yeah,
That's what I heard. Anyways,
I like that version.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not. So, all right. So, man, kid becomes a ranger. You're impacting the youth. The facility is growing. The Mindset Academy, right?
yeah, I didn't have a name for it yet,
Okay.
and that's when I gave it the name, the Mindset Academy, and made sure it was a legit IRS charity and all that because I didn't know how to do. I mean, all the work that just takes time, because I wanted to be credible. So you got to go through the IRS and get established so people can give you donations and stuff like that, So then I started just posting stuff on Instagram. So the majority of my early Instagram is just me and kids working out at the lake. And then literally the whole journey up to this point has just been like documented, So it's just kind of grown organically in regards to people like following what we're doing,
Yeah. I love in here. You talked about how you and I had a conversation, which I know you talked. We had a few conversations along the time. I like one of the things that you have underlined. I felt completely recharged and ready to go. Back on the warpath, I went default aggressive.
I was ready.
So when we talk about being default aggressive, people initially think we're talking about like physically towards other people because it's like, oh, Navy SEALs,
No.
No, this is about being default aggressive just to getting the work done. Being default aggressive to go apologize to somebody and say, hey, Dillon, I know we've had some friction. I'm sorry, man. I'm really sorry. That's what we need people to be default aggressive on. And it's like, go be default aggressive on chasing your visions and your dreams. You have these dreams, you have these things you want to do. I hope by now our listeners would know that just listening to this story, most of the people out there, their excuses are invalid.
Yeah, default aggressive for me during that time was when I had to make the decision to pay the light bill at my house or at the facility and then not knowing where it's going to come from. Like, what am I going to do? Cry about a situation I consciously made the decision to get myself into, or own it, Extreme ownership. Default aggressive, figure it out.
That's awesome. What about that? You got awarded a grant.
Dude,
How cool is that?
me and this teacher was telling the story the other day because I suck at doing anything with computers.
I picked
She
up
was-
the phone and the guy on the other end asked if my name was Dillon Cooper. I jokingly replied, it depends on who's asking. That man laughed and then advised me that I was awarded the grant for $25,000.
Dang, bro.
I hit up so many people. Hey, do you know grant writers? Yeah, they're going to cost you a lot of money. Why? Well, just the way you got to prepare them. So I looked at this one, and it was like, you just got to fill this stuff out. So I went to this teacher's office that had like this fancy computer. Oh, man, she was just telling the story the other day. She's like, yeah, you was over there typing out this grant, like eating all my candy and stuff, yelling at kids to shut up because you were being all quiet. And then she was like, I had her like look through it, and then I sent it off, and she was laughing because, yeah, you faxed it and then you left all the stuff on there because you're an idiot and thought when you fax it, it all just goes. So I left all the sensitive information, like, all right, how do I use this? Yeah, just hit it. All right, cool. And then she was like, you idiot, you left oh, snap, I had all my
Personal.
But, dude, I basically spilled my heart in hopes that people reading this grant actually read it, you know what I mean? And then what I didn't mention in the story is I looked up the people in charge of this grant, and I called a couple of them. I only got a hold of one of them, but yeah.
Oh, bro, I've been stalking his Instagram over here.
It's nothing but, like, I wish it was cool videos.
I remember when Dylan sent me this picture.
Which one was
Yeah,
it?
yeah, that one that's prominently featured on the Instagram quite often.
And this is
Yeah.
when you sent this to me. I'm like, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I know.
And you're probably like, this dude's insane.
No, I was like, that dude's going to be my friend for sure.
Yes. And when he said in the story earlier, when he said, and then I baptized him, he wasn't talking about that situation at Pursuit.
Yeah.
I was actually able to baptize him
Yeah.
after he had received salvation. So
That's
it's a
freaking sick.
really cool story about what God's done in Dillon's life. Okay, so man, Lucas, what do you got for Dillon?
All right. I'm gonna go like out of the realm of the conversation that we've already had. So there's two things that I really want to know about. Talk to me about March 5th, 2022.
March 5th, 2022.
March 5th, 2022. It's Saturday night. You are you're walking around. There's a concert going on. There's a lot of people that are walking back to a
Oh,
parking lot.
God.
What happened
After-
on March 5th, 2022?
After I had already jacked up my shoulder to
Yeah, so what's going on with your
dislocated it.
Yeah. So you got how did you dislocate your shoulder? Let's start with that.
grappling.
Okay.
If you're listening, don't do jiu-jitsu, do boxing. No, I'm just kidding.
Cool, we can just edit that part
No.
out.
Yeah, what is
it
it?
was just I dislocated it, tore everything, but I had already had issues with it before.
Yeah.
And then went with a friend to actually watch the UFC fights, and it was like downtown where they were doing like a lot of construction.
Mm-hmm.
And there was overpopulated because there was some country concert going on that night, I believe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, my friend I was with wasn't like the violent type. Not saying I'm violent, but he's not like the confrontational type,
Not
you know?
capable of violence. You,
Yeah.
however, are capable.
Yeah, so we're walking back, and it's this pretty sketchy area, and we hear like a guy talking. It turns into like screaming. So this dude was like on all types of drugs, and I heard him say he was gonna cut someone's head off. And I'm thinking, well, is this a mutual combat type thing between him and another man? Is this something
Yeah.
I could just watch if it's mutual? But then I saw the group of women.
Mutual combat is one of the coolest rules that we have in Texas and Oklahoma.
I know some senators. There was something recently where the guy, like, he's like, mutual combat, like, literally called the guy out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the other guy quickly backed down.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
So,
no. So, yeah, I could tell he was just not stalking them yet, just hovering around them, being weird.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see the knife yet, but he did like make gestures like, "I'll cut your head off" and stuff. And then I noticed where the construction was, it was just a pretty dark area, but I guess you just had to park. We had to park that far because there were just so many people there. So around the corner, and I kind of made the decision to just, we caught up with him, and I remember telling the lady that we ended up like becoming friends or whatever, I'll act like I'm with you all. That way, obviously, he'll maybe just leave.
Yeah.
But
See
that
that
yeah,
there's
that
a bigger
wasn't-
guy there.
Yeah,
that's
that wasn't the case. He was just on whatever.
He was undeterred.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
once we round the corner, I just told my friend to keep walking with him, and I would just kind of turn and be like, "Don't walk no more," like thinking he'd be like, "Oh, all right, whatever." But that wasn't that wasn't the case. The guy was looking for a fight, and he found one, unfortunately, and he had a blade that looked like Abraham Lincoln gave it to him. It was so rusty, and he was just out of his mind. But we got in a little tussle, but yeah, drugs and
So during the tussle, what happens to you during the tussle? Because the guy did have Abraham Lincoln's rusty tetanus knife.
yeah. So I didn't have shoulder mobility then. I
Right.
could barely, and I think that's what really caused me to get what small wounds I did, because I
Yeah.
couldn't move like I normally.
Because the guy cut your face with the knife.
Yeah.
Like
Small wound.
you're dancing around it, but the guy cut your face with the knife.
Yeah. It was pretty terrifying, really, man.
Yeah.
Random thought. I was wearing a Taylor Swift t-shirt that night, a white one. And yeah,
He was just thinking this is just some soft college kid with a bunch of tattoos wearing his T Swift t-shirt.
I don't know, man. He just wouldn't. He wouldn't stop. So honestly, I was hoping someone else would get involved,
Yeah.
because I knew my shoulder was just jacked. But it was just such a weird, isolated area. There weren't a lot of people there. Then once it was over and it had ended, there was more people coming around like, "Hey, what's going on?" Because they thought I was just beating this dude down for no reason. And this guy was like, no, he tried to kill them women. And this guy was like, I'm going to go get my shotgun. And I was like, man, where were you guys like 10 minutes ago? So, yeah, that's why I don't really go out much. Stuff like that. But I don't know. I think that's kind of why I tell kids, like, I'm trying to build like savage servants, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like not ego driven, but purpose driven and capable, if that makes sense.
100%.
Like, the most masculine men I know are the most nicest and compassionate, but they have that switch to where they're willing to like defend themselves and others.
Well, and that's the difference. I think you already mentioned it, between being a pacifist and being harmless. A pacifist is somebody that could do harm and decides not to, whereas a harmless person is just a person who couldn't do harm to begin with.
Tried the whole. Apparently, he didn't read my book about verbal de-escalation because it didn't work. I remember saying, "Hey, dude, chill out, man."
Did you just like sign a copy and leave it there next to him?
You could
take
just,
it to him the next day.
No, you could just kind of tell he was out of his mind. One of the ladies was kind of talking smack to him too because she'd been drinking. So it was like she was that was the thing.
That's
and then
the worst.
One of them called her husband and he was on the phone. Y'all just need to shut up and get back. And then
that's actually pretty good advice.
Yeah, and then once it was over, he just started pulling in and was still wanting to like go get at that guy. And then that's when the lady called me like her angel John Wick, or I can't remember what she called me. Yeah. But I was like, dude, my shoulder hurts so bad right now.
Yeah. Go get your angel some ice.
Yeah.
Yep. So the other thing I've got some questions about is that there was an investigation by the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation into a junior high teacher in your community. We experienced when I was doing ministry as a missionary. I'll not give like too many details, but years after I left, one of the guys that I had done some ministry work with, I was told committed suicide. We were really close. That nobody really knew what happened. It was a weird deal. People were trying to figure out why it was that he took his own life. Well, within a few days, stuff started to come out about how he was soliciting pictures and maybe has even committed some assault of some of the students that were in the youth ministry that we worked with. Mm-hmm. It's about all I can like say for any of that stuff, right? So there is some like associated guilt for me, and I've talked with several of them. They were kids, now adults, right? About some of that of like, hey, you know, where was I potentially like complicit in this, like not knowing the situation and you know, encouraged whatever. But the main thing that, you know, from them came from that I didn't know. Like I thought he was an authority figure. It didn't feel wrong at first. Like there was a lot of stuff leading up to it. You're asked to be interviewed about this situation with this assistant. Was it the principal at the junior high, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Look, we'll hide your face. We'll do whatever." And you're like, "What was your response to Channel 5 whenever that came up, and why was it?"
I think the school just paid their lawsuit on that like $2.5 million. Just a couple. Grief. Yeah, it's not a good thing for them.
Because your response initially, they were like, "Hey, we'll blur your face."
Unfortunately,
and all that.
Schools sweep things under the rug.
Sure.
A lot of times because it makes them look bad. So they'll give someone the option to just resign versus let people know the reasoning. So with kids being involved, I just didn't think that was right, especially with everything that came out. The investigation, all that. OSBI don't just arrest you for no reasons, you know. And he had already done that a week and nobody said anything. Like nobody said anything. So small town politics, don't want to upset so-and-so because they go to this church or that church. Me being me, they were downtown and I was like, yeah, I'll tell you all the truth. I'll speak my truth. And they were like, yeah, we can like blur out your face. And I was like, no, you don't need to do that. I'm not really worried. Like right. I wasn't trying to be arrogant, but I'm like, I'll say what I say. Like if people don't like it. And it caused an uproar for some people because small town churches and division and stuff like that. But I just kept it simple. I was like, this is how I feel. If y'all want to come talk to me about it. We can do it. No reason to do the Facebook thing. So I only had one guy come through that wanted to debate it, and I just kept it simple. Like, well,
the Oklahoma State Bureau of
What do you wanna
Investigation
do?
doesn't arrest people based on gossip and rumors. Right.
Yeah, it was a lot, man.
There has to be some
Yeah.
substantiated facts.
Yeah,
and that
it was a lot.
It was interesting to me, reading your posts and stuff about that as I'm looking at like my situation, which would have been in 2018 is when we were kind of handling some of that stuff. Is the amount of people who immediately, because it happened at a church, the amount of people who immediately were like, oh, did it really happen? This wasn't the guy that we knew. And then the next side of it was kind of do we talk about it? Don't we talk about it? And I'm like, if you don't talk about it, or if you do hey, here's an anonymous statement from whoever, right? Then that's not helping the kids.
No.
Yeah.
Right? Like you may think that it does something for you, but it's not helping that kid that got abused.
Yeah.
And it's really not putting the fear of retribution or consequence into the hearts and minds of somebody else that might try the same thing.
Yeah,
So-
because that's going to be lingering. Like,
100%.
oh, you mess with kids, this is what happens to you?
Yep.
Like, it's going to be like, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what kicked that off was the school counselor walked in and saw him and a young boy doing something. So the school counselor actually called the cops that day. So
Good for
it
them.
wasn't drama. But what happened was that incident happened, and none of the parents were notified that had happened.
No way.
So imagine having a kid there and nobody. That's when the drama came up. But it's small town stuff. He goes to this church, so he knows this person's a police officer, this type thing, and that's why the federal people. But the school counselor is the one that kicked it all off, and then and that wasn't drama. That was her walking in, and she was terrified to like report it. So she walked in and called the cops and was like, I just saw this happening. It's horrible. Shouldn't have been happening, whatever it was. And that's what I saw. So that's what.
Yeah. One of the things I always come back to with that too is they're an upstanding. They just made a mistake, blah, blah, blah. And we just there was a pretty major situation with a mega church pastor where something like that just came out, that there was some sexual assault of a minor and probably could have been classified as statutory, right? There's this guy, and his name may be familiar to some of you, a guy named Dennis Rader. I don't know if that name rings a bell for y'all. He is more commonly known as the BTK killer. That was a serial killer who sexually assaulted a lot of his victims. And he had a family. He had a daughter. His daughter is a believer, raised her in church, was an upstanding member of their church, served on a lot of church committees. And everybody in the community thought that he was this like great dude, including his family. And then when it came out that wasn't the case, nobody wanted to believe it. But when you go and you open up the shoebox that's in that closet, there is every shred of evidence that everybody was looking for. And so it's this undeniable thing that like, certainly we have to give people the benefit of the doubt. Certainly, the innocent until proven guilty stuff and all of that. But the amount of people that immediately come to the defense of someone who is accused of doing things with minors, right? Because it doesn't happen with rapists, right? They're like, as soon as it happens, they're like, nope, yep, believe all women and all of that. But we don't have that same kind of thing when it comes to kids. We don't have a believe all kids policy where they're like, no, that's not, the kid misinterpreted it. It's like,
the thing is, like, boys aren't going to be the one that come out and make allegations because it's going to make them look weak to other boys.
100%.
It's not like, it'd be different. They're like, oh, I kissed that hot female teacher. But if you bring up allegations about this dude doing stuff to you and you're openly, and all of y'all are, but yeah, she's the one that saw that happened. And nothing got really told. It was just kind of wishy-washy the way it got handled. That's why I kind of like said what I said, because I'm like, well, someone's got to say something, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's a hard one.
but again, that's why I kind of built that place down there, so I can control everything that goes on down there.
Yeah.
That's good.
But also like and I know we're about to wrap, but those students that you have, the young men that you're pouring into, right? They're now equipped to where if those kind of things begin to happen, like they get to put a stop to it.
Yeah.
They have the tools to put a stop to it. And if somebody comes to them and says, hey, be careful with this guy, he kind of did this and this to me, those students now have a place where they can go to be like, hey, listen, Coach Cooper, this is what's going on. And I don't know how to handle it. You can be like, no, I got you.
Yeah. And you give them confidence.
Yep.
Yeah.
That doesn't often happen to confident kids.
Because kids, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, confident.
Yep.
It does not happen to confident kids or kids that have strong parental figures at home,
Yep.
usually. That's usually who's not targeted. They're targeting the weaker, kind of timid, shy people that they can manipulate. It's all spiritual warfare. It's witchcraft. They're manipulating people.
Should we talk about final phase, like the graduation thing?
Yeah, I was
Like
just
when
going to.
Josh and Isaac and them and all those guys.
Yeah, so I was going to read a few things.
Yeah.
And then I wanted you to share final phase and then, recently what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can you read those letters?
Yeah.
I would love for you to read the letters too. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Leadership is just like any other skill set. You have to constantly look for ways to improve it. I do believe some people are natural born leaders. Certain people just have the innate ability and drive within themselves to lead others. However, I still believe anyone is capable of becoming a leader. Both my childhood and parents played a monumental role in shaping me into the leader I am today. When I was growing up, I constantly observed my mom going out of her way to help others. You talk about a lot of the stuff that you've literally mentioned.
Which is
about
cool
your
when
mom
I
here.
came across you and Extreme Ownership, because as I was doing all that work with kids, I was like, surely I'm not the only one that thinks these are leadership principles you could be utilizing, And then once I read all that, I'm like, finally, the same group of guys that
Yep.
think it's this,
Yeah. My mom demonstrated it every day, not just with her words, but with her actions as well. I hope the reoccurring theme of this book was evident, the importance of humility, especially when it comes to leadership. Man, you have so much good stuff in this book. I just, recommend you guys get Organized Chaos, and then, Dillon obviously has another book as well. I like how you said this at the end. Just like a knife can become dull if not sharpened, the same holds true with leadership. I hope this book helped you sharpen your blade and navigate your organized chaos. Josh shared this on one of our Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu episodes recently. The lessons I teach all of my students. 1, you are going to fail. You're going to fail at some point in life. It is inevitable. So don't get discouraged. Failing is when you truly learn the most. Learn from it and move on. Number 2, help those in need. Always help someone when you can. Life can change in a heartbeat. You can easily be the person needing the help. Don't ever turn your back on someone in need. Number 3, fight back. At some point, life is going to beat you down repeatedly. It is going to hit you and put you on your back. Stand up, collect yourself, and fight back. No quit. Number 4, keep swimming. Life is going to try and drown you. It's going to drag you into the deepest and darkest waters. It's going to grab you by the throat and completely submerge you. It is going to be brutal and it's going to be scary. The method of survival is simple. Keep swimming. Number 5, find yourself. So many people walk through life and never fully understand who they are. Don't be one of them. Walk alone for a while. Figure out who you are and what you want. Talk to the universe. It will speak back. Number 6, be a good human. Ask a complete stranger how their day was. This simple gesture could be the moment they decide to not go home and commit suicide. Always reply with no sir or yes ma'am. Feed and pet all stray animals unless they try to kill you.
I forgot about
Let
that.
your loved ones know how much they mean to you every day. Stand up for the weaker person. 7, die with memories, not regrets. We are all operating on borrowed time here. Death will come for all of us. When it's your time, leave with memories and not regrets. I love that, man. Man, such a good book. I wanted you to talk about Final Phase and then also, reading those letters, which would be cool. And then, just kind of share with us what's next. I mean, you had a pretty monumental event happen in your life, and you've been able to transition and shift.
Yeah, so final phase is kind of like the graduation process at my spot. we collect a group of kids, usually like 12 to 15, create a curriculum. There's 15 sessions they have to make it through. We do like workouts, the combative stuff, and then we do a lot of mental health stuff where we like break down index cards, write down things that are going through, but I write stuff down too, and I have people that are helping me write it down, and we read them out loud if we want to. That way kids know that, hey, it's not just us, it's grown men that are kind of dealing with things too. Yeah. So we do this build up to where we prep them for the final phase. And then final phase is basically just like an obstacle, you know, like, hey, we prepped you for this. Now this obstacle is here. How are you going to navigate it as an individual and then as a team? But I bring in all my scary looking friends that are like the nicest dudes ever. But the best part is there's like no big like rehearsal, you know. I just let them know. When Isaac came in, he was like, should I act mean? Just act however you want. All right, that's fine. And he just walked by these kids, didn't acknowledge them, and they were just like, ooh. So yeah, they have time to prep for final phase, and then we put them through it. There's a part where they have to you have to score a takedown, at least 3 takedowns to make it out of this round. Every takedown you don't get, we're doing burpees and push-ups. So I tell my friends that come in that are all good at this first round, make sure they get no takedowns at all. Like, I don't want them to feel any ounce of hope. Okay, roger that. So the first round, the kids are kind of thinking, and some of these kids are only 13 to 19. So some of them are thinking these guys are going to take it. Nope, even some of the studs. So round 2, they're still just getting hammered away. So they start breaking down a little bit, and then that's when we start coaching them up just a little bit, you know. And then first kid gets a takedown, then you see the kids kind of boom, 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 and then once that's over, then they have to actually get a submission. You got to tap one of these guys out, you know, while they're able to strike you and stuff like that. And it was the same thing. First round, make sure they feel absolutely like they shouldn't be here, and then they slowly start building it up. So it's highs and it's lows, and then we just teach them how to kind of navigate it, you know what I mean? But the cool thing is final phase, there's no parents involved, there's no cameras, no one's watching, doors are closed, you can't see in there. It's just me and my friends that I bring in, and then the kids, and there's no time limit. I tell parents around this time we should be through, but I'm not for sure. You'll get a text like once it's all done. And Isaac and them will tell you that if it needs to go further, it needs to go further. Because last time, I think it was, I can't remember who, it may have been Kramer. They was like, yeah, they're doing good. I was like, no, we need to do more. They're like, all right, we'll do more. So we just kept pushing them. And then once you see the kids doing what they need to be doing, that's when it starts. But what's crazy is when Josh came up for the first one, and we had him do the run from the lake all the way to, which is the first one Josh came up to do, pouring down rain, storming. Josh was like, we still doing it? Of course, bro. The parents were like, are we still doing it?
It's going to make it even better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what ties in with this, which is pretty sad, when Josh came, he helped this kid, Devin, get through it. And he ended up getting diagnosed with cancer in April, and he just passed away last week.
Oh, wow.
But what's crazy is I have this video of him just pouring rain, lightning, and he was only 15 at the time, carrying this backpack with like 30 pounds, and he's just getting after it, and Josh is behind him, and my other buddy Patrick, and they're just pushing him, and he's just going after it. And once they made it to the building, then they had to do the combatives. Then it got even worse, you know what I mean? And he made it through, graduated, and then moved out of state, and then he got diagnosed with cancer. But it's like, that's why we were doing those things, because he literally had to fight. I mean, like the worst possible. Yeah, there was, but yeah, and his mom was just like, you know, thanks for y'all giving him the confidence I couldn't do as a mom, because I didn't know how to, you know. Yeah. So yeah, I was talking to him, and he was getting better, he was going to be trying to buy him a new car because he's been working at Brom. So I told him, once you get better, we'll throw in and help you get one. And then last week his mom sent a text out that was like, if y'all want to come see him, make plans in the next couple of days. And then 2 hours later, he was just gone like that.
Wow.
But it's like, that's why this stuff is so important to me, because at the end of the day, I'm training these kids for hardships as men, as humans, because it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, like, just knowing he was in that hospital, like, alone, just fighting for his life, but he did it up until, like, the end, is just it's mixed emotions in so many ways, you know. But that was a pretty heavy moment, but it's kind of a full circle type thing, you know. If I wouldn't have stayed on this path, I wouldn't have been able to have the 2 years we spent together. Yeah. Because he was one of the kids that didn't like doing certain things in school, and he didn't live in the same town, and his mom would bring him over because he just liked, once he got through the sucky part, he just fell in love and was obsessed with working out now. And
it's cool. But
then when Isaac came for the first final phase, I'm trying to share funny stuff now because I don't want to start crying in front of all this.
It's all right if you do.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's deep. I'm just thinking, like, all the stuff you go through to, like, build a facility, like, spending 2 years with a kid like that is... Yeah.
It is. But what would that kid's life have been like had you not done that?
Yep.
And the kids that have gone into the military.
Yeah.
And the future kids. Like the kids that you're currently working with right now.
I mean, the military can be hard, you know, life, workouts.
Yeah.
Could you imagine, like, hey, you're 17,
no.
You got sisters and a mom, and you probably got like 5 months.
No, I couldn't.
Like the mental fortitude to get up and...
Yeah. We dealt with that recently with our daughter's best friend's mom. And every day she had a positive attitude every day. And like my aunt, and I've had a lot of other family members, have died from different, there's, and then I've had aunts beat it. And you look at these men and women who are given a death sentence like this kid had.
Yeah.
And this 17-year-old boy fought until legitimately the day God took him up to heaven. And he was able to do that because of your facility.
I was looking at these messages we were exchanging, and of course, me being the idiot that I am. April 9th, 7:20. What up, dude? How you holding up? I feel decent. You in Kansas City still? Yeah, Children's Mercy Hospital. You need anything? Let me know. I'm doing pretty good, but I'll let you know for sure. I was like, cool, you want me to send you some strippers or what? Jeez, bro. And he goes, I don't think my mom was like that too much. And I go, Roger that, man.
No kidding.
But
good call, kid.
But yeah, that was him on the left when he first showed up, 15. And then I'll just show y'all this one video because I don't want it to turn into like a, but there's probably some cuss words in here, but
we can edit them out.
That's him, like, pouring rain right behind Reagan. There's Josh pushing him.
Dude,
then there's
incredible.
another one. That's when they earn their key. Just look at how proud he looks after they got beat to a... Look at his face. He's like, oh, my God. Like, I don't know. There's one party that's tossed down, and I'm like, get up, Devin. And he's like, all right, Jesus. Like, but, yeah, it just makes those years we spent together more meaningful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it also makes you realize like what's important and what's not. But
we waste a lot of time and energy complaining about things that don't really matter.
yeah.
When you think about that kid.
So when I went to Pursuit and I met all y'all, I was like, I know these guys. They got to come up for a final phase. So Josh came up again and brought Isaac. And I remember telling the kids.
And Kramer, right? Yeah.
No, this was just Josh and
Isaac.
Josh and Isaac came. Just them two.
That's right.
Came
Okay.
up. Then I had my buddies from the Triton place come down too.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm telling them the whole time. I'm showing them videos of Isaac. If Isaac gets you in a chokehold, you may want to tap, So these two, they're terrified, and they prepped a long time. And Josh and Isaac will tell you, like, how scrappy they were. Like,
oh, yeah.
Dude, these kids start throwing up like it's getting bad. Isaac puts this kid in the triangle, doesn't tap. My friend helped him. He's like, fix your form. And this other guy, my other buddy's like, I think he's unconscious. This kid's just out cold. So Isaac's like, oh, snap. So we start waking him up, and he's like, oh, what happened? And, like, they're, like, bringing him back. And I'm like, bro, get up with your chin held high. You just tapped out Isaac. He was like, I did. I was like, no. No, he choked you unconscious. I told you to tap. And then he's like, oh, I'm sorry, man. I was like, what do you, like, most kids would be like, I need to call my dad.
Mom.
He was like, can I go to the bathroom real quick? And I'm thinking, like, you're not going to press charges up? Yeah, go to the bathroom and then come back. And then they push through. But
that's amazing.
Yeah, so we do that with every class cycle, So
that's so cool.
It's pretty cool.
Do you want to read those letters real quick?
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool that you could share, what recently happened with the facility.
Yeah. Let me see what this one is. November 24th. Hey, man, thanks for always being an awesome staff. Thanks for always making sure we have activities. Thanks for letting us listen to music on Sundays. But you've been kind of slow playing lately. I need you to fix that. I'm just playing. And then he goes, you always give everyone a good laugh. We need it. I appreciate you. And this kid, like, went to barber school, and we're, like, friends on Facebook, and he's just, like, killing it in life, like,
That's
raising his kid. This was right when Trump started talking about becoming president. It was a laughing joke back then. So he kept saying, Trump 2020, or I can't remember what year it was. Yeah. So this was just on Thanksgiving, I guess. I'm writing this letter. It's Thanksgiving. I'm very thankful for all the time and love and patience you put into my treatment so that I could become a better person. I know that I've made mistakes and you still haven't judged me. So this is a kid that would always do stupid things, and I would correct it without ruining his entire life. Because it's like, you already don't have a mom or dad. Like, how bad can it get? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Never judge me or put less effort into helping us, and you should be recognized for your outstanding work. Another reason I'm thankful is because I know no matter how upset I am, you can relate to me. You helped me with the devil, and then there's a quotation mark with someone's name that was like a horrible staff, and they came on my unit when I wasn't there because they were higher up, like running their mouth, and I was like, who are you talking to? And he was like, I was like, don't talk to my kids like that. He's like, do you know who I am? I'm like, bro, I don't care. Like, we can fight right now. I don't care. I don't care how. And the kids were like, oh, yeah. And I was like, I'm just saying, don't come. No, lower your voice. And he's like, I can talk. And it got pretty skittish. And he thought I was going to be, like, afraid of the job title. And I was like, negative. So the kids, like, loved it, But he needed it because he was being really... He was like, why y'all's never going to be nothing, like doing this and that. And that's, how it is. So anyways, thanks for all the help you've been able to give me and more to come. Says crash the boards because I'd play him in basketball and just back him up and dunk on him. And I'd be like, y'all's trash, bro. Y'all suck. And then it says vote for Trump. And then it talks about this board game I'd always play with him, but this kid was the one that was shot and killed once he got out.
Oh, man.
Yeah, So it's like, you know, you help them in there and they're in a bad environment. Why make their time that miserable? You know what I mean? And unfortunately, man, he was in the process of like getting in a good spot. He had applied for college. I'd met him up there to help him get some clothes and stuff. And he was just like caught up in the mix. So, yeah, but.
Oh, we need to send you guys more clothes. I know we've done that a few times.
But yeah, that's why I tell people, like, you know, because I feel like people wanting to go into this field, whether it's like psychology or education, they're so focused on the degrees, but they're not focused on who they are as a person.
Yeah.
So I tell them, like, your degrees will get you in the room, but it's your approach as a leader that's going to, like, make the impact. Because I've seen a lot of educated people fail miserably when working with kids.
Yeah.
And that's why I get guys like y'all to come up and help, because y'all have lived, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
What happened recently?
About the new dog I got? Oh. So yeah, when I got the facility,
Just
I
living
always
in poverty, right?
Yeah, for 6 years. Yeah, 2018 to 26 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 years I did it. I don't know how, but I always wanted to be able to do the same thing, but out on my own land, to include like the outdoor aspect of it.
Yeah.
Like I knew that was the chapter then. I knew that was the Mindset Academy in town is what I needed.
Yep.
But he put like a different vision on my heart that's like, it's going to be bigger and better and a better thing for you too. So I put my building up for sale, the property, because I didn't owe anything on it, because free child labor, you know, making kids work for me. But
we call that sweat equity.
yeah, and when I bought the place, people told me I'd never be able to sell it because it wouldn't be of value and this and that. And one of the 5 tribes in Oklahoma, the Seminole Nation, their leaders came down and they're like, dude, this is awesome. Like, we didn't even know you've done. Like we knew you had a spot, but we didn't know. I was like showing them kids and stuff, and they're like, if you're selling it, like, what are you thinking? And I was like, well, I would like to see it be used for the community still, but y'all being tribal and native, I'm sure y'all can do y'all's own thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, they were like, yeah, we value like what's here, what you built. Like, yeah, we wanna start the process of buying it, which is such an up and down thing with government and federal money. And that's why it's important to have good people, because this time last year, I had no idea if it was going to work. And I cut off funding because I knew we were going to be exiting. And you just don't know with that federal money. And guys like Josh and all my other friends were like, dude, it's going to work out, because you go to meetings, we will buy it, we're not going to buy it. And so many people are like, they're not going to buy it. Like, there's nothing worth that. So in October, we ended up settling on it, and they're going to keep the downstairs the same to where kids will still be able to come in and utilize it. They're just going to change the way that they do it, because I'm like, cool. And then they had this meeting to where they're going to put $325,000 into the upstairs, and it's going to be renovated into an emergency shelter for kids. So it'll be
that's awesome, man.
One building, 2
Purposes.
different type of things. So when you walk in, you'll see the gym, but you won't be able to get to it unless you come through this door. And then upstairs, there'll be like rooms and stuff, which will be cool, because I always wanted it to be part ways with it on my own terms. So
that's incredible.
So then I got some land not far from there, which is cool, because I like grew up in that area, which is how this full circle things kind of come to. And I knew like my time working with kids wasn't up. But at the same time, I've kind of like made moves based off like everyone else but me. So I was like, man, I need to do something, like, because living in Seminole, I lived in a different town and then ran my facility for 6 years, and it's just a lot of work and money.
Yeah.
And I'm a one-man band, basically. I mean, I have my supporters, but you're having to do it all. So I was like, dude, I have this idea. How about I build a cabin out on my own land and build a facility out here? We'll do outdoor pull-up bars, dip bars, ropes like they have on bases. this ginormous dirt road where hardly nobody ever walks or nobody drives by. We can do log carries up and down. And then it ended up coming through this intersection where there's 3 different school districts that go like right through there. And it's still technically in the same town, just outside of town. So I was like, cool, I'm going to do it. Didn't really like ask anybody. I was like, I learned a long time ago to be careful with like who you tell your plans and stuff to. But I remember the first person I told was like Josh and all y'all, like, hey dude, like I remember that day you were like, what I miss? And I text you and you're like, oh dude, this is going to be awesome. But everyone was like, oh, you're going to spend all that time and then just sell it and all that. So the way it worked is they didn't buy my charity. They bought the real estate and the property. I still have my thing.
And the building that they bought is giving you the funds to make things better and have a greater reach.
Yeah, and we just had my building just got done yesterday, like completely electric and all that. Concrete's been poured. It's officially, so we'll be moving stuff in Monday and Tuesday. So everything's already there, good to go. So next month I'll be working with the first group of kids out there, literally doing the same thing, just in a better environment, utilizing the outdoors. Because you'd be surprised how many kids haven't been outside of town. To where if you even take them out to the country, they think it's like Montana or something, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, it was like keeping it simple again. Like I want to create a cool environment to where guys like you can come in, my friends, we can work with kids. Yeah. We can cook, we can sit around a campfire and talk, like fellowship, and just be a safe spot. So I'm happy with how it worked out because it's like the final evolution for now, you know what I mean?
For now.
Yeah.
Until God puts something bigger and better on your heart, which he's going to.
Yeah.
We know that. So what can our listeners do to help support this?
If you don't want to see me on OnlyFans, I need some donations. So the good news is I've donated to charities before, and I've always been like confused with where my money went, you know? Mm-hmm. This has never been one of them. We're really like transparent with like how we... So basically... we're in a good spot now because I've been able to pay for everything up front now. So next month, actually this month, we'll start looking for business sponsors again.
Awesome.
So if you own a business, whether it's big or small, we can hook you up as a sponsorship, and that money will go straight towards working with the kids. And the way I do it is we keep it simple. We don't do like monthly things. I meet with the company. We talk about what type of donation, and then we give them advertisement in return. But it's also one of those things where they'll see their money being put to use because, I mean, you can come up to my spot anytime, and that's all I'm doing. So that's honestly the easiest way is to just donate. And I got the website and all that set up.
What's the website?
TheMindsetAcademy.org.
TheMindsetAcademy.org. Awesome.
Yeah, we are a 501c3 charity and all that because of your friend from Mississippi, out of all places. Is it not crazy?
That's incredible.
Hannah did your...
Yeah.
She started following me when you shared all my things. She's like, yeah, I used to help JP. She was like, I'm a CPA. So I'm like... I'm not a CPA and I don't know anything. Can you please help me? And she's like, yeah, you've been doing some stuff wrong, but I can show you how to do it. So she just helped me again like last month, and I text her like, thanks for making sure I don't go to prison for like fraud, because I don't know, it's fine, you know. But it's crazy how it all
that's incredible.
Divine order, you know.
Yeah, man, God is good. So. All right, hey, I'm going to close it out with some final things, and then I'm going to have Dillon share his final thoughts. So I just want to thank all of you guys for watching, for listening, for supporting. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll understand some of the things that we've talked about in regards to tattoos. I remember when I met you and Randall up at your event, and we had like a picture taken of the three of us out in front of the Mindset Academy, and I posted on Instagram. There was a lot of people confused. They thought I was at a tattoo convention or something like that.
No doubt.
Randall's fully sleeved up, blasted out neck, same as you. And
you get the least amount of tattoos in that picture.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Dude, I used to tell like parent-teacher conferences where they meet the teacher, they'd come in and see me because I taught at the academy too, which was like more advanced. So they were like by the book parents, and they'd come in and look at me, and I'd just create this crazy. Yeah, when I got out of prison, I finished my bachelor's in prison, and then after prison, I did my master's, but, I turned it around, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's awesome, like, you turn it around. It's like, I'm just kidding. I was in the military. Oh, thank God. I thought you were actually
So you'll know. If you've been watching on YouTube,
So
you'll know what
prison
we're
or
talking
military,
about.
those are the two
Yeah.
options
Yeah, they're
for
like, oh,
guys.
cool.
Yeah.
It's
All
kind
right,
of the
cool.
same thing, really.
very, very similar. All of you that have been listening, sharing, subscribing, and commenting, it's huge support for us. So we appreciate it. For those of you that are subscribed to YouTube, you'll also be notified when our YouTube exclusive episodes come out. So every week we have an additional little YouTube exclusive that comes out. If you want to follow us on social media, I am at JP Dinnell, 2 N's, 2 L's. Lucas is at Lucas Pinkard, at Lucaspinckard, and Dillon is at the tattooed _teacher 87. Again, that is at the tattooed _teacher 87. Make sure you're following us on social media for Echelon Front, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of that. Go to echelonfront.com to see what we have going on. Check out some future events. If you want us to come work with your company, check. We have the Extreme Ownership Academy, which is our online leadership training program. Also, Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu is a ministry that I'm a part of with Isaac, Stephen, and Josh. We have a podcast that has episodes that come out every Tuesday. We're also doing live events every 4 to 6 weeks and a discipleship program that counters that every 4 to 6 weeks as well. At the live events, we have one coming up July 20th. And it is going to be a no-gi jiu-jitsu seminar with Pedro Rocha, and then one of my pastors, Tyron, is going to be sharing his testimony.
Nice.
So free jiu-jitsu seminar, testimony, and then we open it up for open mat for some good training. Also, check out Little Cattle Co., a partner of a Texas beef company called Little Cattle Co.
Get that beef.
Yeah, dog. My best friend Steven started the company. My wife and I partnered with him and his wife early of last year. Our website, if you want to order some beef or beef tallow products, is littlecattle.co. It's a company name, but just has a website. We can deliver anywhere in the lower 48 states. We're a custom order beef company, meaning you can order whatever you want from us. So if you want some ground beef, you want to be a part of our ground beef subscription plan, which I know, Lucas, you're on that 20-pounder. Or you just want
Waiting
to
for the 30 to come.
I know, order some tomahawks or filet. It's whatever you want. You can order from the website.
A la carte, if you will.
Yeah. Also, we have a handful of people that have actually bought boxes of beef, and now the beef tallow, like the body butter, the lip balm, and the tallow cream as gifts, and they're sending it to people, customers, clients, people that they appreciate. They'll send them as gifts. We include custom handwritten letters in there, so if you want to do that, we can do that for you as well. Also, check out On the Path Printing. Josh Strasberg and I started that company. We're a apparel printing company that will take care of all your printing needs. So shoot us a message, let us know what we can do for you.
About to relaunch some new some JP Dinnell gear. Never Settles coming back up. We get the NCC Mafia shirts.
We'll see.
Are about to
see if those are
about to
approved.
drop.
We'll see if those are approved.
Anti-mastermind.
Yeah.
Detective Dan shirts.
Bro, I don't
Detective
have time to eat beef because I wake up at 02:30 every morning.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, that guy.
I'll
Anyways. Also check out Bruiser
Suppository.
Arms. You can check out us on Instagram at Bruiser Arms. Leif, Jocko, and I are part of that company. We have gear. We have training. Just make sure you're following us on social media as we release more information for upcoming training classes and different gear packages. And also go to originusa.com and jockofuel.com.
Yep.
Check out those incredible products. Origin USA and Jocko Fuel has been supporting me and my family and Echelon Front and everything that we've been doing for a very long time.
Did we confirm the 7-Eleven deal?
Did not, but however, you should go to 7-Eleven because it's going to be at least around for a while.
Yeah, so they've got the Mulk in store at 7-Eleven.
Yep.
You buy one, you get one for $1.
Yeah, and I know Vitamin Shop has a deal right now for the hydrates, the RTD hydrates and the goes. So go to originusa.com, check out all the different American-made gear that they have there. They have all different types of pants, T-shirts, hoodies, belts, boots, wallets, Jiu-Jitsu gis, rash guards. It's all 100% American-made. And jockofuel.com for the supplements and clean energy drinks. Dylan, do you have any final closing thoughts?
Just about life in general.
Whatever you want for our listeners.
I would say that if you're on your path and you feel like there's something more you should be doing, like it's like where I'm at now, back then I would have never thought I would be doing what I'm doing. But I think that was when back then it was, for me, it was like the universe talking. Now I know it was God, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like if you're the same person like me back then that hears it and feels it, like there's more, there's something missing, I should be doing something else, I would advise to listen to it.
Yeah.
And if you listen to it, don't expect it that it's just going to be easy. It wasn't like, hey, I want you to do this and here's $50,000. It was like, hey, I want you to do this and it's going to be a little painful, but it's all going to work out for you in the end.
Yeah.
So I would say when he's talking to you and telling you things, listen.
Yeah.
And when you feel alone, you're going to be alone at times when you start on that journey. Don't get discouraged, because when you're on the right path, the right people, you're going to meet in the middle, which is what we're doing right now, is literally a testament of this.
Yes.
Because in 2016, I didn't know you.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have known you if I would have taken another path to just go chasing money.
Yeah. God
Now
is
you've
good.
spoken at my grand opening. You baptized me and all that.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been possible if I wouldn't have stayed on the path, you know? So,
It's cool what God gives us.
yes, sir.
Amen.
Thank you for your time, man. Appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
Everything that you've done for our nation and what you continue to do is incredible. So you wrote in your book, you said, I'm not preparing my kids for college or the military. I'm preparing them for the worst day of their life. The day they find out their mom or dad has cancer, they lost their job and now can't provide for their family, their friend committed suicide, or other obstacles they may have to face in life. I know this philosophy or mindset may seem extreme to most people. However, I know at some point life is going to try and drown my kids. I'm ultimately teaching them how to swim. I hope this episode has been a reminder for you to go out there, to put in the work, and to never settle. This has been the JP Dinnell Podcast, episode 43.